Retro.
Purchase your tracks today.
Retro.
Something's different. I am changing. I don't know if I like who I'm becoming.
Boyd, there are a lot of people wanting to know what happened down there.
Mom, where's Dad? Why isn't he back yet?
Tabitha, we need to talk.
It means everything they showed us. It's real. I think they're doing it to make us afraid.
Well, then it worked. There is something ancient here. And it's feeding off our suffering, and it doesn't stop.
We're losing. We're running out of time, and we still don't know the goddamn rules. There is no way to fight back against those things. Everything we've done, every sacrifice we've made, none of us are going anywhere.
You think you're some kind of hero? You're a monster.
Lord, please protect us in this dark place where evil roams so freely. This we ask in your name. Amen.
One way or another, the truth always comes out.
I would make sure it doesn't.
Okay, ding dongs. If you don't subscribe to Jeremy Ice and Fire, you're gonna spend the night in the box.
Aren't Cooey. And welcome all to another edition of the Fromville Hour, ladies and gentlemen, on this fine Saturday evening. And here we are, folks. We have been talking about this for a little bit ever since season 4 has come to a close. Every time a new season ends, we always love going back right to the beginning. It's always fun once you get a whole new season and you get new context for new things. Every time we go back and do a rewatch after a new season, I feel like we always find some interesting new little tidbits. And I'm hoping tonight is going to be no different. I'm already seeing from the chat, you guys have already been noticing quite a few interesting things, and we're going to take a look at each and every single one of them. But here we are, folks, back to the beginning where it all started, where we all fell in love with this phenomenal show, probably within the first 5 or 10 minutes of the actual episode. But here we are, PM, back to the beginning. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's uncooey. Let's uncooey everything. We're back to the beginning. And, it's my favorite season. So I'm really glad to be in that vibe. And you and I were talking about this, but we're not going to have to wait as long.
No.
So that's exciting. I feel by the time we finish recapping every season, the show will probably take off. So for the next season, yeah.
That would be perfect. That would be perfect. I mean, and we can take our time. We have 4 seasons to kind of go through between now and when season 5 eventually gets here. But no, you're right. I mean, they're already filming season 5. They're already a few weeks into filming season 5. It's not like they just started. They've been filming for a little while already. So yeah, we're probably not going to have as long a wait as we have had between previous seasons. So that is a good plus. And yeah, like you said, it gives us some time to kind of go back in, dive into the beginning and all of the previous seasons and see if we can pick up on some new things that maybe we just didn't have context to look for, the first time we have watched these earlier episodes. Again, there's always little things that you get new context for every time you get a new season under your belt. And going back to the beginning it's always fun. I always love going back to season 1 because I'm with you. It's my favorite season. I think season 1 will always be the best season. We haven't seen season 5 yet, so maybe season 5 will end up being the best one. But for me, I don't know if anything will ever beat season 1, the magic of season 1.
The magic. And I love what Katrina Marie is saying here in the chat. It feels like I'm in a book club, the best type of book club.
Yeah.
Literally. I've never been in a book club either, Katrina Marie, but this is exactly what it would be. This is our international group project. We gather, we discuss notes, we take down notes, pages and pages, and this is where you can bring all of your ideas to. So I'm so excited to kick it off with season 1, episode 1, because guess what? Looking at the episode with fresh eyes, it gave me a lot of theories. I have a lot of theories.
Okay. I have some too. I mean, it, like you said, it's the fresh eyes bit, right? I mean, like kind of, looking at things from a new perspective. Now that we do have these added little answers, these added clues that we did get in season 4. Yeah, it always paints these earlier seasons, these earlier episodes in a different light. So yeah, I'm totally ready. I am totally ready. And thank you so much, Mita. I mean, we love diving into stuff. And I know I know I can probably speak for PM when I say this as well, that we love you guys' takes as well. You guys come up with some of the coolest theories that we have seen over the years. So we love doing these discussions.
Yeah, I mean, not only the coolest theories, but you guys are the funnest group. The funnest group. You guys are hilarious. But
definitely more fun.
Yeah, I mean, Toby has been the exciting thing about episode 1 and 2 is that we kind of have gathered no conspiracy theories. The creators of From themselves, they said, oh, you guys only thought Eloise was alive because you tend towards conspiracy. There's a new one, right? We kind of let go of the Eloise one, but now we focus on other stuff like Toby. Toby has been hot. That is the newest Fromily conspiracy theory. What is going on with Toby? Why was he saying that he was alone? All of this, like, who is he that he create from? So Toby is the newest conspiracy theory. It seems like the Fromily kind of let go of Eloise and Martin, and now it's all about Toby.
I mean, we begrudgingly, unfortunately, were forced to kind of let go of Eloise. Now that we have got pretty good confirmation from the creators themselves, confirming that Eloise is dead. She is not going to be coming back. And again, I know we've talked about this a lot in the past, but part of me still wonders, just by the very ambiguity of some of that storyline, that if maybe they were planning on doing something with that at one point and kind of changed their mind. Because again, a lot of people have seen the foreshadowing in the setup when it comes to Eloise. So I wouldn't be surprised if that was maybe a change of gears. But yeah, I have to put Eloise aside. Martin, for me, Martin, I think is still very intrigued. I know not everybody's interested in Martin, but I still am a little bit. I mean, I just feel like he's one of those interesting characters that I just want the answer to him. I mean, I know it might not be super significant, but I don't know, something about Martin and the little dungeon that he's in, and the way that it's accessible, how it's ruins one minute, and Boyd can only access it by bringing that torch there and lighting it up. Not just Martin, but that place in general. Like, I really do want to get a definitive answer as to what that place is. Is that place some sort of nexus for story walking or something? Is that some sort of kind of inter crossroads or something, some supernatural crossroads where you can kind of story walk to different time periods from? Because it seems like Julie had a pretty good job doing just that when she entered those ruins. I do kind of want to see a little bit more about the ruins in Martin. But Toby, man, Toby has been such Toby fell a little bit on the back burner, I think, a little bit, probably towards like seasons 2 and 3. But you're 100% right. In season 4, the whole Toby thing, it seems to have just completely come back, with so many theories, people talking about Toby, Jade. Why does Toby never acknowledge Jade? What's going on there? And I think, hopefully, I imagine we're going to get some kind of answer in the final season as to what's really going on with Toby. Why did Sarah really kill him? If this was the man in yellow manipulating Sarah all the way back then, if he was all of these voices, if he was the voices the whole time, I'd rather. Why? What exactly is the answer? Why did he want Toby dead? A lot of really good theories. But yeah, Toby's a good, interesting one. For me, Martin's still an interesting one. And quite a few others. I mean, there's a few that nag at me still to this day. And I know it's not a big one, but man, whatever was dragging Boyd in Sarah's tent, I know it's probably not going to be something super big. I don't know. Maybe it will be. I have no idea. But for me, I don't know why that's been like such a small mystery that's been nagging at me for so long. For some reason, I just really want to know what the hell was dragging Boyd in Sarah's tent, and why did it seemingly not only not kill them, but seemingly bring them closer to the lighthouse. There's a lot of questions I have about that incident.
Well, it took them away from the lighthouse, correct?
No, it took them towards the lighthouse. When the tent was done being dragged, they were in range of the light from the lighthouse. That's how they were able to find the lighthouse in the first place, because
Oh,
the
okay.
tent got dragged.
Okay, then I have a theory about that just immediately. This is what I
Mm.
think. I think that if we follow the pattern, sometimes the storyline is simplified, right? It's an elegant solution to a lot of the questions that they have kind of put out there. So when it comes to the Martin thing, I think my blood is your blood ritual. That just tells me it's Sophia. I just think, I mean, very simply put, it is Sophia messing with them.
I think that's the
Um,
simplest answer too. Yeah.
when it comes to who was dragging the tent, to me, that was the boy in white. The boy in white is
Mm.
the person that has been telling Tabitha, hey, in order to save the children, go to the tower, go to the lighthouse, go to the lighthouse. He is somebody that has sent people there, not just this version or this reincarnation of them, but Christopher, hey, go to the lighthouse. He's
Yeah.
always trying to get people to the lighthouse to venture
Mm.
out there. So Sarah and Boyd end up venturing out there. Not a lot of people do because it takes a while to get back home. So
Mhm.
they don't. They were the first people to explore. So once the boy in white sees that Sarah and Boyd are exploring, this is a great opportunity for the boy in white, the only person, the only one we ever see sending people to the lighthouse, to drag them closer to the lighthouse
Mm.
so they can see it, so that that can be of help to them. The boy in white clearly is helping the humans. Yes, he
Mhm.
doesn't do a whole lot, but in his own little way, he does help the humans. He helped Tabitha. So I think the more people that have access to having seen the lighthouse, the more people that can help them in the future. I think in season 5, they're going to be going on a journey to the lighthouse. So that's going to come full circle. Sarah and Boyd will have seen what it looks like, will remember what the surroundings and the weather was like when they saw the lighthouse, so that they could identify where it may be. Yeah,
I
that's
feel
my
like the
theory.
boy in white is a strong possibility, but the only problem I have with the boy in white being the one that was dragging the tent is what directly followed afterwards, is how he seemingly turned them away from the lighthouse and put them right into that faraway tree and sent them back to town. Why go through all of this trouble to drag that tent, Lord only knows how long, just to send them away from the lighthouse as soon as it's starting to get dark? I don't know. I feel like the boy in white is probably, simplest answer is sometimes the right one here. And yes, when we look at, I think you have a really good point when it comes to the boy in white is the only character that we've seen so far that has been sending people to the lighthouse, and not just one, multiple people. It's like we don't really have any other reference for other characters, beckoning people to the lighthouse. So I do think the boy in white is probably the strongest possibility in terms of what really dragged the 10. He's probably the most likely answer, but that's the only small part that kind of bugs me about it. He goes through all of this trouble to kind of bring them close to it just so they can see it, and then sends them back home. I mean, yeah, I suppose I can kind of buy that on a
I have
certain
a
level if he
solution for
just
that.
wanted them to kind of see it, know that it
Yeah.
exists. But then again, Victor already knew it exists, and Tabitha was going to find out it exists either way, with or without Boyd and Sarah. But no, I do
Well,
think the boy in white's the most likely possibility, just because, I mean, do we have any other creatures, any other entities out there that have been helping the humans that would have done something like this? We don't really. We don't really have any reference for anything else. So I do think the boy in white is the most likely answer, but it just something about it bugs me.
okay. Well, let me explain my theory, right?
Mm,
So when I say that in season 5, I believe that they're going to journey to the lighthouse, Jade and Tabitha, they will not be successful, just like every other version of them has not been successful
uh-huh.
if they do this alone. I really think that the magic of what will make the group successful is that they work together, that they care for each other, that they're willing to work together, and that they have people like Boyd and Sarah that are willing to sacrifice themselves in order to make this journey. We know that
Uh-huh.
when the wrong people go to the places that are not ordained for them, bad things happen.
True.
I mean, we
Very
have
true.
Dale. If
Look at Dale.
anybody else tries to do what Tabitha is supposed to do, it doesn't work out. The same thing Jade and Tabitha said, we know, I don't know how I know, that's what he says, but it has to be us.
Mhm.
Jade changes the plans from having a whole group helping him to just him
Yep.
and Tabitha being the people
Yeah.
who collect the bones. So
Mhm.
when you mention the lighthouse, the boy in white mentions the lighthouse being important. He is always talking about this lighthouse. It is important for the two people that must complete the journey, for Tabitha and for Jade. Anybody else that goes in there, that's not going to be helpful, and they might be in more danger. But
Mhm. Okay.
it
Yeah.
is of a lot of help to have other players see the lighthouse.
Know it
If you're going to
exists. Yeah.
help them, then you
Mhm.
need them to see the surroundings. Boyd is somebody that you could benefit a lot from him seeing the landscape because he's trained. He was trained in the army
Yeah.
to look at the terrain. So he can be of a lot of help if you just show him something and he could remember that when he's trying to look for it again.
Mhm.
The same for Sarah. So you want to show them just like you would want to show them the tree,
Yeah.
but you don't want to
Show it to
send
him.
them
Yeah.
in there. You're going to be
Mhm.
like, I don't need you to go
I
in
want you
there
to
because
see
the
it, but
people
I don't want you
that
to
need to
go
go
to it.
in there
Yeah.
is going to be Jade and Tabitha. And it
Okay.
doesn't make sense to you right now in season whatever 1, but it will
Mhm.
make sense
But
to
it
you in
will.
season
Yeah.
5,
Of course.
right?
Yeah.
And so then
Yeah. Once
he
we get the
drags
answer,
them
of
back
course. Yeah.
and he knows that they're helpful. He knows these two people are going to be very helpful. So he sends them back to a safe place. He's like, now go
Mhm.
into the tree because I'm watching over you. You're going to end up in a safe place. Go back home. Okay. Don't come
Well,
back
Boyd
here.
doesn't
This
really
is
end up in a safe
dangerous.
place, to be fair. Boyd ends up in a pretty dangerous place that almost gets him
He
killed.
puts himself in there. Okay. I got to say something about that.
Mhm.
Listen, I love my Boyd. You know, I
Mhm.
love Boyd. He reminds me of my father. Every time I see Boyd, it's like I'm seeing my dad. But Boyd did not end up in a dangerous place. That man had every opportunity to leave that creepy guy alone. As a matter of fact,
It's
Martin
Boyd
said,
though, you
leave
know.
me alone. Hey, he
Hmm.
left Randall. Don't tell me that Boyd will not leave
Well, he
somebody
had
behind.
to.
He left
He
Randall.
had to. He had to leave Randall. He didn't
Oh,
really have a choice
he
there.
he had to leave Martin alone too. He had to
Well,
leave
once he
Martin
was
alone.
dead, yeah.
The smartest thing would have been to be like, okay, I'm gonna figure out a way to get you help. Okay, you're clearly here.
Mhm.
You've been here for a long time. You're probably not gonna die. You're not close to dying. You're saying that these things keep you alive. You probably, I have more time to get back to you because you've been here for a long time. Do you understand? It's critical
Yes,
thinking. It's critical
but
thinking.
well, I mean, and of critical thinking though, I mean, if I'm Boyd and I have that kind of military mind and I'm as smart as Boyd and I know we know nothing about this place and you come across this person, if I'm Boyd, I'm thinking this person might be, one of the few chances I have of actually getting answers about this freaking place. Like you said, clearly
Yeah.
this guy's been here for a very long time. He must know some things about this place. I mean,
Thank
not only
you,
that, but
Jeremy.
just by the kind of person that Boyd is, he's just, he doesn't want to leave someone behind if he has a choice to. But
Okay.
but
Well,
yeah,
on
I
that
mean,
point, before you move away from that point, don't move away from
mm,
that point. Because I'm going to checkmate you with your own point, Mr. Jeremy Eisenfire.
okay,
Exactly. This guy has been here for a long time. He might be valuable, right? Critical
yeah,
thinking. Boyd is, in the army, he is trained. Boyd
mhm,
asks that man questions over and over. And what does he do? Oh, Boyd, what do you, blah, blah, blah. He talks about the weather. He talks about
yes,
any other thing
of
except
course. Well,
answer
I
the
mean,
question
it's
straight up. So when
and
you're
I think,
asking him questions and you
mhm,
notice that over and over, you're telling him time is of the essence. I can save your life if you cooperate by giving me information. And he refuses to. He's
well,
showing
that's
you
the
that
thing.
he will not provide any info. That is when you start picking up on, because a lot of us did pick up on it. He is sketchy. There's something wrong
Super
about this
sketchy,
guy
super
because I'm
sketchy.
I'm
He
like,
is.
I could help you. I'm the only person that can help you. You say you've been here for a long time. Instead of providing me info, all you're doing is being very random. And then you mention my wife. At the minute
Yeah.
that you mention my wife and my name, I'm off. I'm like, you know what?
See, no,
Goodbye, dude.
I don't know.
Goodbye,
For
dude.
me, I would have been the exact opposite. As soon as I heard him mention my wife, at that point, I wouldn't have left that place without him. That's just
Ooh.
me. I mean, I would have needed to have that answer. And I think, I mean, it's one thing for Martin not to give like answers in the middle of the whole thing. Well, it's high stress environment. He's he wants to die. Boyd's trying to freaking free him. But if Boyd were to successfully get him out of there, then that would have been the time to truly ask him questions and really get answers. Not right in the middle of it when he's trying to break him out so much. But once it's done and that high stress situation is kind of done, I think that kind of those kind of conditions would have been much better to kind of try and get something out of Martin. But I don't know. For me, if I would have heard him say that about my wife, I don't know if I could have just walked away. I think I would have needed to get something from this guy.
I
But
mean,
I guess
this
that's
is
really just
a
a
monster place,
not a
though.
preference, but a choice. As to you hear something so profound like that, does it make you just want to get the freak out of
Yeah.
there? That's a very valid response. This is Fromville, after all. This place is
Listen,
scary.
that
It's
man killed his
dangerous.
own wife. He shot his own wife. He don't
He
care
had
if
to
you
kill his
mention
own
her.
freaking wife. I
He
mean,
don't
that's what
care
I'm
if you
saying.
mention her. He shot his own wife. He's like, listen, I shot her. What
Yeah.
about her?
Yeah, but I don't know. For me, if it was me, if I heard that, I don't know if I could have left without getting a definitive answer. Especially just knowing that we know nothing about this place, and this might be one of our few opportunities to actually get something. But no, again, I feel like it's
I just
it
think it's
really comes down
shady.
to preference.
You should be begging me to save you. You should be begging me to help you. What you're saying is, this is why I think it's Sophia. Sophia gave
I think it was
Henry
Sophia too, probably.
multiple opportunities to not get blood on his drink. Sophia gave Henry 3 opportunities for him to stop drinking with her and not get into a big mess with this
Mm,
blood. And Henry
yeah,
kept saying, no, no, let's have a second bottle. We already had one bottle. Let's do a second. Let's do a third. Uh, your cut isn't that bad. Let's go and have another little drink.
yeah.
So he had gave him opportunities. Guess who else did that?
Yeah.
Martin did that.
He did.
Martin gave Boyd like 3 or 4 opportunities where he said, "Leave me, trust me,
Mhm.
you need to get away.
Boyd was
Trust
never
me,
gonna do
you
that.
need to run." Okay, whether he was or not, he gave him opportunities, and that is
Yeah.
very reminiscent of the pattern that Sophia follows. Sophia doesn't just go after you; she kind of gives you an opportunity.
Gives you a
You're still gonna
choice
get hurt.
of
You're
2
gonna get hurt.
directions to go down. And I think that
Mhm.
one thing that actually I think leans into your theory, that kind of something that we actually kind of saw with Henry, actually, that kind of backs up what you're saying. When we saw Henry in this season, we talked about the idea of, if Henry didn't choose to drink with Sophia, to drink with a minor, a teenager, would he ever have had a chance to drink her blood? Would he ever have gotten poisoned with her blood? So like you said, it's almost like Sophia put a choice in front of Henry in that scene. You can choose to drink with me and drink my blood and get freaking screwed, or you can choose to not drink with a teenager, and maybe you would have just saved yourself. Maybe you never would have found yourself in this position. And I think, what backs up your argument with Boyd is Martin did give him that out. If Boyd would have just left, he never would have gotten infected with the worms. So maybe it was a choice, a similar choice that was put before Boyd, that, okay, you can stay and choose to do the honorable thing, or you can leave and save your life. So I think that backs it up. I mean, in terms of like Martin maybe being really Sophia or the man in yellow in disguise, I think that fits into that argument even a little bit more. But I think Doug cracked the code for us, though.
He did.
Says,
Buenas noches, Doug. What is his theory
he's got a
here?
pretty good idea of what was
What is
dragging the tent, and I think he cracked the code. I think he's 100% right. It was a member in a backhoe, and that was it. At the end of the day, it was a crew member with a backhoe that was dragging the tent. Mystery solved. I mean, it wasn't a man in yellow, it wasn't a spider, it wasn't a boy in white. It was simply just a crew member riding a backhoe. So thank you, Doug. That is what was really dragging the tent.
Getting the 411 here.
Mystery solved.
Mystery solved.
But let me catch up on these. I mean, we got a bunch of jewels piling up, and this is something I'm so glad YouTube finally changed, because up until recently, we didn't have the option to see when people donate jewels to the channel, but now they do. Thank God. I'm glad that YouTube changed that. And we have Eric, who has sent in 10 freaking jewels, a bunch of different jewels. Thank you so much, Eric. Very much appreciate you. We got a 10 jewel, a 2 jewel, a 2 jewel, another 10, another 10, another 2, another 2. Wow, another 10, and another 10. Wow. Thank you so much, Eric, for the jewels. Very, very much appreciate you, my friend. Wow. And if you have anything like specific that you want us to dive into, a specific topic, a specific theory, anything at all, throw it in the chat. Let us know, and we will definitely dive into it, my friend. But thank you so much for all of the gifted jewels, and I owe you. Awesome. And of course, we have Kiwi, who has been a member for 36 freaking months. Wow, craziness, absolute craziness. 36 months. Thank you so much, Kiwi, for being such an awesome supporter of not only this channel but all of the From channels. You are awesome. Another month of great content, and never ends. Thanks, Jeremy and Co. Well, we thank you guys. I mean, again, we love talking about this show, but I also just love talking with you guys and with everybody, the whole From fandom. It's always fun. We always kind of get into some, fun stuff, have a little jokes, have a little fun, and of course, always finding some new kind of interesting theories that we like to dive into. And that's always what's fun about going back to the beginning of this series. Every time you get a new season under your belt, it's just always fun to go back to the very beginning, the first episode, and see, okay, what do we have context for? What can we pick up on now that we couldn't have picked up on the first gazillion times we watched the pilot? So no, we love doing this, and can't thank each and every one of you enough.
I like that name, Kiwi. I think that this is your company's name, Jeremy and Co. Jeremy and Company. I like that. It reminds me of Tiffany and Company. That might be your company's new name, Jeremy and Co.
Should I switch the channel from Jeremy Ice and Fire to Jeremy and Co? Is that a better name? Maybe?
It sounds elevated. I think it elevates it, since you don't just do Ice and Fire content. Um,
True. This is
Jeremy
true.
and Co. Very cool. I like it.
It does have the air of sophistication about it. I think you're
Hmm.
right.
We are
All right, I have a
sophisticated
decision to
here.
make, chat. But yeah, thank you so much, Kiwi, and thank you so much, Eric, for all of this support, each and every one of you guys, and of course, I still owe you, Kiwi. Whoa, 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 whoa. All right, awesome stuff. Oh, okay, we got one more. We got Justin, who has just gifted 1, 2, 3, 10 memberships. Holy freaking cow! Thank you so much, Justin. Well, thank you so much, Justin. That is incredibly generous of you, my friend. Wow, 10 memberships gifted. And of course, welcome all to all of the new members that have just received memberships. And be sure to give Justin an awesome thank you. And of course, Justin, if you as well have anything that you want us to dive into, you have a specific theory, did you pick up on a specific new clue if you rewatch the pilot, anything that you want to talk about, if you have something, throw it in the chat and we will definitely dive into it, my friend. But wow, thank you so much, Justin, for the gift of 10 memberships. Holy freaking cow. Wow. And yeah, I think I think PM needs to be Julie's wig for Halloween. I mean, I have to imagine we're going to see some wigs for Halloween when Halloween comes around. I feel like we'll probably see a few, at least within our From fandom. I'll be very surprised if we don't see a few people dressing up as Julie in the wig for Halloween this year.
I'm going to do it for you guys. I'm going to do it for you guys. Jeremy, we need to have a Halloween special.
Totally.
Everybody needs to be in their vibe of From. I will dress up as Julie with the wig.
We dress up as
That's
our
gonna have to
favorite
be
From
custom.
characters.
I'll tell you, I know wigs, and that is gonna have to be custom. That's about 3 or 4 bundles in there. So it's gonna have to be custom made, but I'll start working on it. I'll do it for you guys for sure.
For the fandom, anything for the fandom. And yeah, I mean, whenever Halloween comes around, we always love doing, Halloween specials, usually always From focused and just horror focused in general. But yeah, we will have to dress up as our favorite From characters. And if you guys do the same, definitely make sure you take pictures and send them into the Discord, and we'll take a look at all of them Halloween night. Awesome stuff. Wow, thank you guys so much. And we have Howdy Helen, who has just gifted 250 jewels with the laughing disco ball. Wow, thank you so much, Howdy Helen, for the gift of the 250 jewels. That is incredibly generous of you as well. And again, if you have anything specific that you want us to dive into, throw it in the chat and we will definitely talk about it for sure. But thank you so much for the jewels. Very, very generous of you guys. Wow. Wow. All right. Let's dive into this, shall we? Now, of course, I'm going to bring up the episode. I'm going to bring up season 1, episode 1. I mean, obviously, we can't play the whole thing in its entirety, but we can play it in clips. We can play it in sections and talk about it as we go. And of course, let us know in the chat, what have you guys picked up on rewatching the pilot? What new things are catching your eye? We want to know what you guys are picking up on. There was one I saw in the chat, PM, and I thought it was super freaking interesting, and I wanted to get your take on it and everybody else's take on the chat as well. Let me see if I can find it. Okay. All right, this is kind of interesting because part of me has wondered, not exactly this exact theory. This is the first time I've ever heard this theory, and I love hearing new theories. So thank you so much with Angels. Anytime I get to hear a new From theory, especially when we're already 4 seasons in, that's a treat because at times it feels like we've talked about everything, and then you guys come around with these awesome new theories that we just haven't even heard of before. So this was something pretty interesting. There's been a lot of talk about the pilot episode, and in particular, how Granny Monster gets on the roof of Megan's house. Because when she's opening the window to Megan's room, that very much is the second story window, right on that, that first roof of the house. And a lot of people have always wondered, what is up with the From creatures? How are they getting up on these roofs? Are they just really agile? Can they jump really high? Or, as some people think, can they even fly? The flying monster theory has been around for quite a while, right since the very first season. And this is something I thought was pretty interesting. And I'm going to bring up the episode. And we're going to take a look exactly what With Angels is saying. If we pay close attention, it looks like they give us Granny Monster's POV as she flies to Megan's roof to peer into her window right before the opening credits / song. Can anyone see it too? And I think I know the shot you're talking about. At least I believe I do. We're going to pull it up and we're going to take a look at it. And I've never considered this part. I mean, the whole monsters flying thing has always kind of been interesting. People have been talking about that for quite a while. But in terms of this theory right here, this is something I have not heard before. In terms of this specific shot, maybe being a POV of Granny Monster just fucking flying through the fucking air right to Megan's roof. Again, it's a fun theory. I thought it was a fun theory. But we will see if we can find that scene. I know it's right around here, I believe. Let's see. It's right before she ends up. All right, here we go. I believe, now correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this is the scene that you are talking about. We see this overhead shot. Now, when I see this scene, the first thing I thought is this is just an establishing shot. TV shows, especially early on, TV shows in the first episode, when you're setting up a world for the first time, when you're setting up characters and places for the first time, you want to have these establishing shots to showcase to the audience exactly where the story is taking place, the setting that the story is taking place in. And every time I saw this shot, that's kind of always just what I thought it was. Okay, this is just your standard establishing shot that we see in many shows that are showing us a landscape or a world or a town for the first time. But I never considered this as a possibility that maybe this is a little bit more than just an establishing shot. That could this actually be Granny flying over the trees? And we see Megan's house right here. Could this actually be the POV of Granny flying right onto Megan's roof? Again, definitely not a theory I ever considered, but I love hearing new theories. And I thought this was kind of a fun one. Because as we see, it does kind of seem like the camera isn't, it starts off as just your standard, again, establishing shot, but it almost seems like the camera kind of dips and it kind of focuses right in on Megan's house. And of course, that could just be very deliberate because that's where the scene is going to be taking place. Yeah. But I thought this was a pretty cool theory, if nothing else. An interesting new take, an interesting new kind of perspective on this shot that I've never even heard before from anybody else. So if nothing else, kudos to you, Angels, just for bringing up something that I've never thought of, that I've never seen before. A different perspective like this. This is why I love doing these rewatches and going back to the beginning like this, to see little things like this and to see how other people are perceiving things on their rewatch as well. So I thought this was kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, I like it. Yes, with Angels. Had not heard about that one before. I like the idea, and I'm picturing as we're watching, I'm picturing Granny Monster up there with her little headscarf.
I'm picturing her on a broom for some reason. I don't know why. Like I'm picturing her on a fucking broom, like a straight up witch. But I know that's probably not the case.
And I saw something in the chat that I feel like if you believe, because it could be one of two things, it either is or isn't. If you believe that they can fly, Random Traveler here in the chat has an answer. They feel like that would be confirmation that they are fairies. That
maybe,
it was originally a fairy who brought the deal to the parents, and maybe because of that, they have fairy-like traits, and that includes flying. Now, I tend towards, I like it. I like your theory. And I like the idea that this is more evidence that they might be fairies. I tend towards the other option, right? Would be that no, they cannot fly. And it was just an overhead
establishing
view.
shot.
And the reason behind that, or the evidence we have for that, would be that people have been out hiding from them. And they know a couple of things about the monsters because they have seen family members die when they come in. They have seen other people be gotten by the monsters. So if the monsters could fly, they probably would know. They would have seen one or two flying around when they're attacking others. Instead of running, walking, they would have seen them like fly around.
Plausible.
The townspeople, they know, like they look like they're human. Fatima says, sometimes, we leave the windows closed because they will try to trick you. They look like they're regular humans. They will try to trick you and tell you there's somebody else. Like this one says that it's Megan's grandma. That's not Megan's grandma. It looks totally different, right? So they have some info as to how they operate. If they fly, they would have said they also fly. So watch out, right?
They
And
also
when you're
fly.
running,
They can
when there's
fly
a
now.
massacre, right?
Yeah.
When there's a
Mhm.
massacre, they would have been flying all over like little fairies. Instead of walking down, Smiley would have like popped his little wings and would have flown right around like Tinkerbell.
Oh God.
But they kind
My
of
God.
we haven't seen that, and people
Yeah.
haven't mentioned it. Donna, when that person was eating Donna's sister's face, she could have seen all of a sudden one of them was flying around and snatched her right up. So the people would have seen this. They never
It could
mention it.
been. They could.
So I tend towards okay, probably not.
Hmm. Yeah, I always thought this was just an establishing shot, showing the audience the town for the first time, the town where the story is going to be taking place. But then again, I love seeing things through new perspectives, through other people's eyes, and seeing how they're seeing the episode, especially on a rewatch like this. And this one I just thought was really, really fun. This was a really fun theory. Now, I think if the monsters could fly, I mean, does that diminish their kind of like, I mean, are they as scary if they can fly? I don't know. I suppose it all depends on like what kind of flight can they do. Like Sunflower here brings up, maybe it's an homage to the kind of floating, an homage to Salem's Lot with the brother floating on the window. And not just Salem's Lot, but there's been a lot of kind of horror themed, especially vampire movies in particular, that have used this kind of trope, the whole floating, at the second story window type thing. True Blood used to do it all the freaking time. So no, I think that's an interesting idea. And I think someone else in the chat, Peter says, I think they have limited flight. When the party house guy lets his ghoul friend in the house, wasn't it on the second floor? Yes, she was also on the second floor roof as well. So again, at the very least, we know that these monsters are at least very agile in terms of maybe they can just climb up these things really fast. We saw Smiley kind of climb up the kind of escape hatch from the bus super quick, way freaking quicker than Kenny did. So they definitely seem to be far more agile, far stronger than regular humans. But no, I mean, this has always been an interesting topic that the fandom has always been kind of split on, or at least there's always been a lot of different theories in terms of how these monsters are just getting on these freaking roofs super fast. Can they just jump really high? Are they just really agile? Are they just good at climbing? I don't know. Again, I feel like I don't know if we'll ever even get an answer, to be honest. I mean, I think maybe part of this is kind of part of the monster's mystique, part of, making the monsters scary. Part of their kind of fear factor is we don't know everything about them. We don't know how they can do some of the kinds of things that they can do. And maybe that is going to stay, deliberate. Maybe we won't get all of those answers. And if we don't, I'm totally okay with that. Leaving certain aspects about these monsters, or at least their abilities, a little bit ambiguous, I really don't mind, because it kind of leaves that kind of mystic, schism, that the magic about them is kind of still alive when not every single thing is explained down to a T. But I don't know. I think this has been a very fun theory ever since the very beginning of the first season, in terms of, the fandom wondering how are these monsters getting on these freaking roofs so fast. And it could just be a trampoline. I think that's very possible as well. Could just be
Imagine her.
yeah, just a nice little jump off a trampoline.
They have to like really kind of we know that there's Jasmine also on the second floor, so they would have to say, hey,
Exactly.
Granny, where did you put the trampoline? Because I'm gonna need it for
I need to
see
borrow it.
my boyfriend. Okay, we'll get the trampoline out there for you, Jasmine. Granny last used it, but there's something that Kiwi Skirt mentioned that is also kind of scary, kind of creepy, and it's somewhere in between both answers. It's neither a yes or a no. Levitation. Levitation, I will
That's
say, is
exactly.
much more scary than
Yep.
flying.
Yep.
Flying
Then
can
just
be
like,
a
yeah,
little silly. You could
mhm.
look a little silly flying around, right? But levitation,
It's
I
silly.
like that.
Yeah,
I really
it
like
might not
that.
make
That's
them as scary.
sinister. But
I
the
like the idea of
levitating,
just a
if
little
all
bit
of
of
a sudden they
flotation.
just levitate, ooh, that's
Yeah,
spooky. And you know what
that's
it
way
makes me think
scarier
of,
than them like
Jeremy?
taking off as fucking Superman and like flying through the sky. I mean, there's ways to make it look cool, but does it make it look scary? Floating, levitating, that's creepy. That's super fucking creepy.
Yeah. Levitation, that is spooky. And
Yeah.
now I don't think that they do because it could have been used. You know where I would have had them levitate if that was something they could do? When they're standing around in a circle, I would have had them like hold hands and levitate as Smiley is coming out of that egg. That is when you
Okay.
want to levitate. That is, if there's ever a moment, it's welcoming back this a giant egg full of just this blood that turns into Smiley. That's when you levitate, right? But yeah, I like the idea. I like the
Yeah.
theory. Now, before we go any further, remember guys, when you're watching episode 1 and 2, straight from the creators, the writer, there's answers. Apparently, all of the answers we need are in these episodes.
The
So I
beginning.
really
Yeah.
hope that you guys thoroughly examine the episodes because apparently, if we pay close enough attention, we could figure the show out just by watching these 2 episodes.
Yeah. And that's always been kind of interesting, them saying that. And you kind of try to dissect these first, 2 episodes in particular and see what exactly were they referring to. And there's a lot of good theories out there. But yeah, what exactly is the blueprint? I think they very much lay the blueprint at the very least out for the show in these first 2 episodes. And a lot of it comes through Ethan's dialogue. But yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see. Chili thinks that they can teleport. Maybe, who knows? I mean, we know that there is. We know teleportation is at least a thing in Fromville with the faraway trees. Can the monsters do it themselves, though? I don't know. Again, we haven't really seen any evidence of it, but who knows? We don't really know exactly what they're capable of. But Xavier says, if From has been around since at least the 1500s, does that mean the ritual was done in the real world and created from, or From has always been there? Tabby is from. And that's the question, really. That is the question in a nutshell. Did this ritual actually create From? And I know, PM, you believe that the children actually created From when the ritual happened. Like the actual, this realm that From was created by the children when this kind of sacrifice took place. And I like that theory. I think that's that's probably the theory I like the most in terms of like what Fromville was. But then again, yeah, was Fromville always here? I don't know. Again, just based on the way things seem to be pulled in here, all of these different kind of buildings from all of these different time periods, it does almost seem like this was maybe, regular land at one point that got pulled into some other kind of pocket realm, for lack of a better term. And yeah, that this whole Fromville, as it were, was created when the ritual happened. That I think that's the most plausible explanation, because we do hear the boy in white say it all started with the children. All started with the children, not just the sacrifice. He said it all started with the children. So I tend to think PM's theory is the most accurate one in terms of that maybe the children themselves created this place.
Well, I mean, I hate to give props to my own theory, but I think that we have already resolved that. I think that it has already been confirmed that that is correct. Sophia told us that, you guys. Sophia straight up told us this place was built. She
On
didn't
ritual.
say, we started using the land or anything or the rules of the game. No, she said this place was built. So it didn't exist. You have constructed it
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
ritual. What was the ritual? It was the ritual sacrifice of the children. The children poured their hopes. We have gotten pieces of the story from Sophia and the other pieces from the boy in white. When we put them together, she's letting us know. Boy in white says, when the children were being sacrificed, they poured their hope into the roots that became the tree. And Sophia tells us this place was built on ritual. So they built a faraway tree, and we also know that the place was built because of that ritual, which means the tree didn't have anywhere to exist except for when they built it, right? So they constructed this. That's
Yeah.
why I think what they're talking about is such a deep desire to be saved
To
that the
be free.
children manifested
Exactly.
mass into where nothing existed. They manifested matter in a place where nothing existed. The roots came out of nowhere, out of
Hmm.
just their hope. So, hope is energy, right? So, they
Yeah.
manifested with their energy as they're being killed, they're manifesting a physical matter, a tree. And then around that tree, a place has been built from. It was built on this ritual. It wasn't there
Yeah.
before. And I think part of the construction of this place, the way that it's constructed, that doesn't quite make sense. The reason why a lot of people picked up on the fact that there's childlike architecture where things just don't fit quite right is because of the children. They don't know where
Yeah.
electricity comes from. They just know there's electricity. The cable's going to take you nowhere, right? It's a very childlike construction. That's
Mhm.
how, from was built. And that's
And
why
I
things
think
don't make sense.
I think it makes sense. It does. And I think, to even tack onto it, when the children are manifesting these trees, I feel like the trees manifested in a very specific way for a very specific reason. These, their hope could have manifested in any number of things. But like, I think they were focusing on escape. They wanted to get out of there. They wanted to be anywhere other than where they were. They wanted to escape this fate that they knew that was upon them. And I think that's why their hope manifested in the form of these faraway trees that can literally transport someone from one place to another magically, instantaneously. I think that came from from the desire of the children wanting to be free, wanting to escape, wanting a doorway out of this place, in a sense. And that's why I do think the faraway trees are ultimately going to be the way out of Fromville once this is all said and done. Once these children are actually saved and it's actually safe for them to leave, I do think the faraway tree is going to be how they get out. And I think the exit into the real world is going to be the faraway tree that Miranda put bottles in the real world. I do think that is a
Ooh.
real bottle tree in the
They're
real
gonna come
world.
out of that tree in the park. They're gonna
Yes,
come
I
out in
think
the
so.
park. Oh,
I
that would
think
be so spooky.
I think, well, because we see this that wheel, that drawing, and one of Victor's drawings, there's the color wheel, and we see 6 faraway trees. But I tend to think that there are 7 faraway trees in total, one for each of the children. I think there are 6 inside Fromville and 1 in the real world. I think when the children poured all of their hopes into that one main bottle faraway tree above them that created the big one, I think it created that faraway tree. But I also think it created another one exactly where the real world is, in perpendicular to that big one. Almost like, as above, so below. That there is
Mhm.
a big main faraway tree right here, and also a main one in the real world, because the children ultimately wanted to escape. They wanted a way out of here. So I think that tree that Miranda put bottles in, I do think it is the 7th faraway tree, and I do think that's going to ultimately be the exit when they do finally leave.
Mm. I like it. I think it would be interesting and super spooky for the people having a little picnic at the park. You're just trying to enjoy your sandwich, and next thing you know, a ton of just homeless looking people come out of this tree that Miranda put in there. But I like it because they mentioned the tree. They were on their way to see the tree, and we didn't get to see it, but they mentioned it.
Exactly. We didn't
Maybe
see
it
it for
comes
a
full
reason.
circle, and when we do see it, it is because it's
Exactly.
the door. So I like that. I think that's really cool.
I think it could
I
make sense.
Yeah, I think it's creative. I like the idea that the tower, the children have been mentioning this tower, right? Go to the tower to save the children. What's really interesting is that Jade and Tabitha had the idea of getting the children's bones, but that was not
Mhm.
mentioned to them. The boy in
True.
white never mentioned to that to
Never
them,
mentioned anything about the
and
bones. Yeah.
also the man in yellow, Mr. Doug Hughes, seemed very interested. Like, oh, wow, this is an interesting idea. You've never done this before. We never even
Mhm.
considered this, right?
Yep.
Because it was not part of the gameplay. The gameplay was go to the tower to save the children, go to the lighthouse, right? they never said the bones. Now that they have the bones, I think the answer is still the same. What the boy in white said, that is still the same. You must go to the lighthouse to save the children. You have the bones, now take them to the lighthouse. I believe that the doorway is going to be the lighthouse. And it's either going to be turning off the lighthouse, right? Once you have the bones there, this might be keeping from alive the energy of the children, the energy of the lighthouse that keeps going and going. And once you're releasing these souls in the lighthouse, then the light turns off and you're in the real world. We know that Tabitha, she was in a trail.
Well, that's the
Or
thing.
they might literally have to like trust, save the children, take the bones to the lighthouse, the children will be saved, and then throw yourself out the
Do a
lighthouse.
trust fall? Eesh. Oh
Yeah,
man, that'd be scary. That'd be
I
scary.
mean, it worked for
But
Tabitha. Why can't it work for them?
it might. I mean, again, you know, I think the boy in white had something to do with sending Tabitha through there. But yeah, it stands to reason there's some kind of doorway there. There is some kind of method to get to the real world through the lighthouse. But one thing I think is interesting about Tabitha is how she was found on the side of a trail. We never actually see where Tabitha was. How do we know she didn't exit out of that faraway tree? How do we know that trail wasn't in that park? Maybe
Like
that
the
is the exit.
lighthouse, like the boy in white
She
kicked her. She
out
fell
of the
into a
lighthouse,
tree.
and that's how she exited into the real world, out of that main faraway tree in the park. Maybe that trail she was in, maybe that tree is in that trail in that park.
So somehow she got into a tree in between falling from the lighthouse and getting
No,
to the
not
real
into a
world.
tree. She came out of the tree. That was the exit.
Hmm.
Because I thought it was very interesting how we never got to see where Tabitha actually popped up, where she ended up. We only get very vague idea that she was on some kind of
Yeah.
trail.
I mean, I
But
imagine like she got kicked out of the lighthouse, right? And it's way
yeah,
up there. So I just
yeah,
imagine
but
she just like
clearly,
fell. She fell from the sky.
I don't know. I mean, because if she would have fallen from that high, she'd be dead. So I think she fell through some sort of doorway, some sort of portal that obviously kept her from, smashing like a pancake.
Super
But yeah, I don't
Alice
know.
in Wonderland. Very
Like
Alice
Alice
in
in Wonderland,
Wonderland.
maybe. Yeah, maybe. But no, I think there's a reason we didn't get to see that tree that Henry brought up to Tabitha, the tree that Miranda put bottles in it. Why would Miranda put bottles in this tree? Of all the trees in the world, what was so special about this tree that she put bottles in it? Unless she saw a gaping hole in it. And this is a tree that she had been having dreams of for so freaking long. I just feel like it makes sense. I feel like that might be the ultimate exit. Once they finally save the children, once they finally can leave this place, that might be where they end up exiting, because that's also in Camden, Maine, right where the other doorway was that Tabitha exited out of. So I think that's not an accident. I think I wouldn't be surprised if there are 6 Fromville trees six faraway trees in Fromville, with the 7th being that one in that park. And that's going to be ultimately be the exit, maybe. But who knows? It could be something totally different, and I could be crazy. But I like it. I think it fits with some of the things that we've seen on the show. But yeah, I don't know. We shall see. Hikers found Tabitha on the side of a trail. That's pretty much all we get. Hikers found her. She's passed out on the side of a trail, and we get like a 2-day time jump in between the end of season 2 and the beginning of season 3 when she wakes up in the hospital. We don't really know much more than that. Will we ever learn more than that? Maybe. I don't know. But I don't know. I like the idea of that being the 7th faraway tree in the real world, in that park, and that being the ultimate exit that they'll eventually leave out of once they complete this quest. Who knows? Who knows? And so the question remains: if the children are saved, what happens to the creatures? Will they and Fatima come back, or will they all be perish when this ritual is broken? I wouldn't be surprised if the monsters, just about everything supernatural that is inside Fromville, if it's all going to kind of quote unquote go down with the ship. I don't see Fromville standing by the time this is all over. That's why I think they're going to very much be in a race against the clock to try and save these children, figure out whatever kind of ritual they need to do, where they need to do it, and get out of here before this place just completely implodes with them in it. But I think that's probably going to be the ultimate ending of the show, with a few of our survivors, whoever's going to survive, eventually getting out of Fromville just before the whole place like collapses and implodes behind them, taking the monsters and all the supernatural creatures along with them, just because that wraps that up, in a good way, I think. Because I do think ultimately when this place was created, I don't think it was an accident that the children created this realm. It just happened to manifest this way. I think they purposely did it, like PM said. They purposely created this realm to trap these monsters. I think that was the children's kind of ultimate revenge, the children's ultimate kind of, you're not getting away with this type thing. The parents thought that they were going to be getting this ultimate kind of immortality and they were going to just be free to walk the earth. And I think that was the children's last kind of FU. When they kind of poured all their hopes into the roots above them and maybe potentially created Fromville. Not just, to have a place for all of the reincarnations to come and potentially save them, all the future Jades and Tabithas, but also to make sure that the monsters and all the other nightmares and evil kind of creatures that are in this place stay stuck in this place and they can't get out into the real world.
Mm-hmm.
A supernatural prison of sorts.
I think what would happen with the creatures would be that just like the children and the people that have died there, Mariel says if you die, you don't even get to escape this place. You're stuck here. As long as From is there, you are stuck. So the children are stuck along with everybody else that has ever died there, human or not human, like the monsters. In this case, if you save the children, the place that was built on the ritual of the children cannot exist anymore because you're saving the children. Sophia told us this place was built on that ritual. You're removing the life force, the power behind the machine, the children. So by removing them, you're destroying what was built. So the whole place would implode completely. The energy, it would be a mass exodus of energy. Think about what Jade said. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. He said, if you believe in the soul and the energy, they are trapped here. It remains here. So that means every single person that has ever entered From and died, along with the children, it is a ton of dead energy that is just surrounding this place, right? Once you save the children and the place that was built on that energy exits, you have a mass exodus of energy that creates an explosion. So
it just
that could
implodes the
mean
place.
that could mean that every single person that is alive has to contemplate the very real fact that they might die. So this might be an ending where it's a bittersweet sort of thing, where it's let's save the children. This will destroy Fromville. That means we get to die and we will not be stuck here. Nobody else will be stuck here, but we will not survive this. This is going to be a catastrophe. We won't survive this. So they're going to have to sacrifice themselves if they want to complete the mission. So not a happy ending of sorts. That's what I think is going to happen. That includes the monsters. The monsters will also not be trapped there, but that does not mean that they continue to live. They die because immortality was granted because of the ritual. You're removing away the life force behind the machine. They just disappear into death and whatever comes after, whatever your personal belief is. The children just, their souls are not there anymore. They're dead.
No, I like that. I do think the monsters are ultimately going to go down the ship in one way or another. But I like the idea of, like you just mentioned, the sacrifice, this ritual, this energy that created them, that turned them into these beings. If that gets destroyed, if that gets negated, does that all of a sudden, do they just implode with Fromville, or do they, revert back to human and quickly wither into dust because they're centuries old and they just all die? Either way, I don't see the monsters having a happy outcome. I don't see an outcome where they get turned back into humans or anything like that. I do feel like the monsters are going down with the ship when Fromville kind of ultimately implodes. the monsters aren't getting out of this. I don't see them having any kind of ending other than being dead.
Yeah, I think just a little side quest here. The trees moving in
Yep.
season 1, we do see that Victor talks about to Ethan, I measured the trees. I measure the trees to see that they're moving, the trees are moving, right? And he's asking him questions about that. I believe that that movement that this physical place is having is because of all of this energy that is taking up more space. As people die, they come in, there's massacre. Mariel said energy doesn't get to leave this place. You're stuck there.
Yeah.
So that means that there is more energy taking up the same amount of place, the same amount of matter, and so things start to move, they start to get crowded. So eventually, even if they wouldn't have saved the children, this place would come to a point where it couldn't hold any more energy,
Okay.
and it would
Yeah.
implode either way. That's why
Mm.
I think that they have mentioned the trees, and they have mentioned the fact that the light, the energy comes out of nowhere. Because another theory of mine is that
I love
what's
this theory of
making the
yours that you're
light
about to
work,
say. I love this. I think this is
yeah.
the best electricity theory.
So what's making the light work? Like right here, we see Megan's house. There's different things like the lamp, the lights in the houses, the TV or whatever. All of those things are working not because the cables are connected to anything. The cables go straight down into the earth. It is because the earth and the place itself has energy, remnants of all the dead. So
These
what's
dead
powering
souls are
from
the
is
power source.
literally the energy of all of the dead people and
I love it.
from. That's
I
what's
like it.
giving them endless energy. They have been, apparently it's been centuries. That's what Little Boy in Blue says. Centuries of electricity. That
Mhm.
electricity comes from the dead people, the energy that has
Yeah.
nowhere to go. So all it has to do is be recycled over and over. It cannot escape. It's just converted. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be transferred. So it's transferred
Yeah.
into the outlets
From
and
one
into the
form
power.
to another,
Mhm.
harnessed into this literal way of them getting electricity.
But
And I think
eventually, even that could be too much. That's why I say we are
too many
preparing for
souls,
an
yeah,
explosion.
yeah,
Yeah, we're
yeah,
preparing for an explosion because what happens when you connect to an outlet that has way too many watts for the
yeah.
apparatus that you're trying
You
to
get an
light?
overload. Yeah.
Yeah, and it
Boom.
sets on fire. So eventually, that's why I believe that when the children are disconnected from this place and
Farmville's
all
gonna
of the
pop like a
souls,
fuse.
yeah, along with the children, every soul gets to just leave, exit. There's going to be an explosion.
I like it. I like it. I like that idea. Again, I feel like the electricity was a huge, like big hot button issue during the first season. Like everybody was theorizing as to where this electricity is coming from once they saw that those wires didn't go anywhere. But then I feel like the electricity theories kind of fell off the wayside. I feel like the electricity just became a part of Fromville that the audience just accepted. In one of those things where we'll get an answer for it at some point. But we didn't really hear a ton of electricity theories as to how it's being generated in seasons 3 and 4. It just wasn't a big hot button issue. But I think this is the best explanation that I've heard, at least up until this point, of where this power or this energy is getting generated from. And again, I think, like you said, Jade kind of putting that line in, or the writers having Jade state that line about the laws of thermodynamics, about energy not being able to be created or destroyed, only transformed. It just fits with so many themes on the show, but I think it fits with the electricity thing as well as anything else. So I think that's an interesting possibility that this electricity is being generated from the power of these souls of these dead people. And it's not just happening by accident. This is maybe a gift from the children, trying to help their reincarnations that are eventually going to get stuck here over and over and over again, giving them another tool that they need to, better survive here, maybe. But no, I like the idea of the souls being the power source.
Yeah, I really do think From is powered by the souls of the dead. From the beginning, this is a pattern, right? And From, they're showing you the answers to the end are at the beginning. Everything is a pattern. What started this thing in the first place, what built the place was the souls of dead children. They were
Sacrifice.
not dead, they were murdered for sacrifice for the purpose of their dead souls powering,
Yeah.
building this place. So their souls built it. All of the death that has happened powers it, gives you the electricity, gives you the apparatus of the machine. It's like this, I think about it as this great machine of energy. And so you have people coming in but never leaving. The energy just keeps adding up. So that's a great source of feeding. If we're thinking about what type of entity would design a place like this in a ritual, it's probably an entity that feeds on energy,
On
because
souls,
you would
maybe?
have not necessarily the souls,
Like the
because
energy,
Mariel
like the
says that
energy
they're still
displaced
there.
from them.
Hope and despair, agony, suffering. So
Mm.
maybe not the souls, but what your soul gives off. So when you really hope for something or when you suffer, right? A lot of the characters in From have mentioned that sometimes they feel like this place gives them stuff just to make them suffer. So that suffering, maybe that's what it feeds on. It feeds on suffering, but you cannot make somebody suffer unless they have hope. I don't know if you guys have seen The Sandman on Netflix, but The
Mm.
Sandman has an amazing quote. The Sandman visits Lucifer Morning Star, and the Sandman tells Lucifer, there is nothing to the great machine of hell if the souls don't have something to hope for. If they can dream of heaven, then there is no suffering.
There's no despair.
So
Yeah.
exactly. In order to make somebody suffer, they must dream of salvation. They
Yeah.
must have hope. You have to give them hope. And then you could really get that suffering out of them. If they
Yeah.
just have despair, then, it's not going to be the same amount of suffering.
Yeah, if they don't know what peace or happiness is, they have no context to know that suffering is actually suffering. Suffering is just a normal state at that point because it's the only state you've ever known. So yes, in order for suffering to actually work, you need the subject that is suffering to know the possibility of a different outcome, something better to hope for. That is where suffering kind of comes from, 100%. But I mean, Doug might have cracked the code again when it comes to the electricity theory. I think they have a Takamung fusion reactor stashed away somewhere. It could just be that simple as well. Maybe there is just a fusion reactor buried somewhere underneath Fromville. Very, very possible. But yeah, I think the electricity thing was again a very big topic of discussion in those first like 2 seasons, and then it kind of dropped off the wayside. But this theory I like the most in terms of maybe potentially explaining where this power source is coming from. So I love that one. That's one of my more favorite ones of Vera's PM. Very much like it.
Yeah.
But all right, let's continue into this stuff, shall we? And again, we want to hear from you guys as well. If you guys did go back and rewatch the pilot episode or the first 2 episodes, what were some of the stuff that you guys picked up on? Did you see any new clues? Anything else? Let us know what you guys are picking up on.
Mm-hmm. Well, Jeremy,
yes.
before you move away, because we're talking about what are we picking up?
Oh, that's right. That's right. I forgot. The reason why
look at this little dolly. Is the
right,
dolly the reason?
Yep. That's why I paused on this. Is this doll? We see that Megan has a different doll at the beginning. It's a very similar doll to Tabitha's. And yeah, I thought this was very interesting. I didn't know this. I didn't notice this all of the times that I've watched From. It wasn't until this recent rewatch that I noticed this doll for the first time, because I just didn't have context to look for things like dolls before season 4, before we got those answers. So yeah, that's why I wanted to pause it on this freaking creepy doll right there. Might be nothing.
Fire mitts. It's fire mitts.
It might be fire mitts. It does resemble fire mitts a little bit.
It
yes.
does. Because look at the hair. Fire mitts had short hair like this. Fire Mitts
Oh
had
my
her
God.
like a little bob too. I think that's
Yeah,
Fire Mitts.
shit. It might be Fire Mitts. You might be right.
And look, why is she standing? That's a
I
really
know.
strange way to have a doll. Usually you have them like laying somewhere on the couch.
It's
She's
creepy.
just standing straight up against the wall. That's Fire Mitts.
Yeah, it's creepy. I think it might be Fire Mitts. Yeah, it might be Fire Mitts. Might be Fire Mitts, guys. Yeah, Megan's creepy ass doll. Um, awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. Yeah, same with the lighthouse theory. Second, the children's souls leave, all the energy sources power through the town will cease. And again, I think we've gotten a lot of foreshadowing for these souls that are trapped here in Fromville. I think we have a lot of at least evidence pointing to that when they save the children's souls, when they eventually leave, that these souls are going to be released with them. I feel like they have been kind of setting that up ever since the very beginning of the series, ever since season 1, episode 9, I believe it is, when we first hear Jade talking about that story that he tells Tien Chen about, they'll come with you when we go. And then later on, 2 seasons later, when Tien Chen dies, Jade recites that exact same line to her over again. It's one of the, I believe Doug said it's one of his favorite lines on the show, and I 100% agree. It's one of the best lines of dialogue, just because it's just super simple, but it's very profound. And I think what makes it so, impactful is the callback to that season 1 scene between Jade and Tien Chen. And it was just a real kind of representation of the bond that Tien Chen and Jade had. But I do think it's more than that. I don't think it's just symbolic. I think that when we hear Jade say, "Don't worry, you'll come with us when we go," when he says that to Tien Chen, that very much felt like the foreshadowing of all of these trapped souls getting freed with them once they eventually do leave.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it makes perfect sense. Really, I know that it could sound a little woo woo, but at the end of the day, it is energy. You don't have to believe in the soul if you don't want to, but it is energy that has been trapped there. So it's not even like a metaphor of, oh, your loved one will die and come with you because they want to. No, I think if you solve this thing that has happened, which I do believe is a dimension created, materialized by the hope of the children manifested,
Mhm.
then it makes
Mhm.
sense. That energy
Yeah,
is going to be dissipated into the universe. They're going to
yeah.
go. They're going to go with you. There's nowhere for them to be. So yeah, of course they're going to go. Um and that's the thing about From. We've talked about this, but sometimes the answer is more simple. It just is
Simple.
what they've
Yeah,
told us. And Jade, I like that you mentioned that. Jade basically spelled it out for us.
yeah.
You're
You're
dead.
coming with us.
When we go, you come
You're
with
coming.
us. Like,
You're
how
coming with
more
us.
clear can you get? All the
Yeah.
dead people come with us. Like, you know,
And that's
I
why
like it.
when we see Marielle in season 4 talking about, she's hearing all the souls, of all of these people, the torment that they're going through, how, they're very much screaming, they're in agony, they're in pain. It doesn't seem like it's a very happy existence to be a soul trapped in Fromville. I was really hoping that part of her storyline was going to be, dedicated to that aspect of the story, making sure that these souls get freed with us. But it might just be something that just happens naturally once they, kind of complete everything. But yeah, this south-facing lad brings up an interesting thing. You guys might have already discussed this, but I thought it was very important that Grandma told Megan, "I would never break a promise." It makes me think that a broken promise is the basic breach. Interesting. I mean, when it comes to dialogue and when it comes to wording on Fromville, yeah, sometimes I do wonder if the wording is maybe a little bit more specific for a very for an important reason maybe. But no, I think that's an interesting idea. Again, it's not something I've ever considered, but I do know the line you're talking about. Yes, the grandmother very much does say, "I would never break a promise." Is that just the grandmother kind of using manipulation tactics to try and get Megan to open the window? Probably, most likely. But could it be a little something more that it alludes to some kind of promise being broken, or promises being broken being a basic breach of terms or whatever? I don't know. Maybe.
Mhm.
Um,
Well,
But
they
we'll
do
see.
lie. We know that.
They lie their ass
You
off.
cannot count on Granny,
They're
Monster, or any of them
manipulators.
to say the truth. They lie,
They're
okay?
manipulators.
They're little
Absolutely.
liars and cheaters.
Yeah.
Now, I think, okay, we're watching season 1, episode 1. We don't know. Pretend that you don't know anything that's about to happen for the next 4 seasons.
Oh, that's tough.
When they say the answer is right here, when you watch episode 1, the creator said the answers are there. There's more info than you know. What happens? What's the first thing that we see? We see an adult that is trusted by a child who believes that this adult, because a family member of theirs, loves them and has the best interest at heart for them. We see this child be slaughtered, killed by this trusted person, an adult that she trusted because they were a family member of hers.
Mhm.
That is exactly what happened to the children. The Ankui children trusted their parents just because, they're their mom, their dad, they're their community. And that promise of care, of love, that promise was not reciprocated. They were slaughtered by their own family members. So they broke that, contract that a parent, family member has towards a child.
Totally.
So when you look at that, they're telling you from episode 1, look at what's happening here. That's exactly what happened. That's why we're here in the first place. Somebody
Children
hurt
trusting
children were hurt.
parenting
They
figures.
trusted
Yeah.
the people that were supposed to take care of them, and
Yeah.
that person did something horrible to them.
Mhm. It is the ultimate breach, like you say.
But
it kind
also,
of goes against the very natural law, of human nature of parents protecting their children.
let me add another layer, okay?
Please.
They say all the answers of the story are in episode 1. So right now we have a child that was betrayed and killed by somebody that they trusted. And we have another layer, the mom, the actual mother of Megan.
Yep.
She's not
She
able
doesn't
to
move.
do
She
anything.
doesn't
She's not
move.
able to. This is the thing. The
No.
mother of Megan represents Jade and Tabitha. Mother of Megan represents the actual parent being unable. So this is the representation of Jade and Tabitha seeing that their daughter is about to be killed, pleading and telling the
Not being
daughter
able
a
to stop.
story.
Yeah.
She's telling
Yeah.
her a story. Don't do this. Don't do that. Don't open the door. And not being able to do anything and having her daughter slaughtered and then herself. She's the
Failing to save.
representation of Jade and Tabitha.
Yeah.
So
No, I like
right
that.
there in this interaction, they're showing you the entire story. It was
Mhm.
children killed by adults that they trusted, and their parents had to watch it happen. And they talked to them through it, couldn't do anything. They were killed too.
Too late to save
Mhm.
them, which,
Because
Megan's mother
everybody
was
kind of
too
gave
late.
Megan's mom, and we did too. We gave her grief over, why didn't you move, lady?
She
Go
should have.
and snatch her. But she didn't. And these are good writers. They did it for a reason, because her mother represents Jade and Tabitha, being only able to tell them a story, right? They told the children a story, but they couldn't save them. They were still slaughtered. That's why Megan's mom didn't move.
Mm. Yeah, I think it's I think it parallels Jade and Tabitha in the sense of not so much not being able to move, but being too late. By the time because she does take a step forward, and by the time that happens, the window is already open and it is just too late at that point. So yeah, I like the parallel of Megan's mom not being able to save her, very much paralleling Jade and Tabitha not being able to save the Unkui children, just being a tad bit too late. It seems like a clear parallel anyway. But I also want to say a big thank you to Michelle Miller for the gift of the 10 jewels. Thank you so much for the gift of the 10 jewels. YouTube actually allows us to see the jewels gifted now in the chat. We didn't have the ability to actually see them before, but now we can. So I see all the jewels that come in now. Thank you so much, Michelle, for the 10 jewels and the gold coin. Very, very much appreciate you. And I owe you, whoa. Whoa. Awesome stuff. But again, this is what's fun about going back and doing a rewatch. Going back to the pilot episode, the first 2 episodes or so, after we've seen a brand new season, we have maybe different context for things, seeing things through different perspectives every once in a while. Always fun to go back and do these rewatches because, you guys always pick up on some really fascinating stuff. And Jordan Matthews says, good point. Frank is killed the next day, and we are told that Jade does always get killed by the townspeople. Another parallel, another thing that tacks right onto what PM was just saying. Very much parallels everything that happens to Jade. And kind of being sentenced by the town, which kind of Frank is as well. Frank is kind of sentenced by the town or the rules of the town for not for to protect his family. So no, I think that fits as well. I think it just continues to parallel it.
Exactly. So thank you very much, Jordan.
Yeah.
That is the representation of what will happen to Jade, where every single person, even though they know him, they've hung out with Frank, they know that Frank just went through a tragedy, everybody still agrees he should be murdered. I
Yeah,
mean,
even
the
though he gets
wife and
killed
the
by the
children are not
monsters,
around.
even though the monsters physically kill him, he still gets sentenced by the town, by Boyd, by the rules of the town. So I do think it
Yeah, it is
parallels
murder,
it. Yeah,
murder by monster.
yeah.
Murder by monster, but it
Yes.
is not the monsters doing, it is the
Yes.
townspeople, people that he knows, people that have grown to know about him, love him, whatever, have a community with him. So this is the representation of Jade and Tabitha. So they were correct. I mean, in season 1, episode 1, they're
Yeah.
telling us the story using different players. They're telling us this is the whole thing.
Different
Children
parallels.
trusting adults being murdered by them. Tabitha represents Megan's mom. Frank represents Megan's dad. This is what happened, a tragic thing that happened to this family.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's how it all started, a tragic thing that happened to the family of Jade and Tabitha, the originals.
Yeah. No, I like it. Again, we might not have had context for this, when we first watched season 1 for the first time, obviously. But, once you get this far into the story and you go back, it's like, okay, now some of these things, they just make a little bit more sense. The parallels start to become a little bit more clear. These symbolic kind of foreshadowings and setups start to become a little bit more clear. And this stuff right here that you guys are talking about is the perfect example of that. And again, that's why I love doing these, diving back into the beginning after a new season. And Bliss Creek also says Frank promised his daughter he would be home. That was the promise broken. I've seen the theme of fathers failing their children. 100%. This has been a theme well throughout the show. Again, right from the very beginning, not just fathers, but parents in general, kind of failing their children right from the very beginning. And even Boyd, to a certain extent, has, even been, a subject of this. A lot of these characters, and even before not Jade, but even before Tabitha and Jim get here, the whole incident with Thomas, literally failing to protect their infant newborn child because they weren't paying attention, even though it was just for a split second. In that split second, yes, it does almost feel like that is the promise broken, the promise of the parent that is supposed to protect their child. And yeah, you're 100% right, Blitzkrieg. We see this parallel throughout so many different characters throughout the entire show. It is a theme. It's very much a theme of parents failing their children.
Yes. The original sin, the original theme of the story of From is that betrayal, a parent's betrayal towards their child. And we see it repeating over and over and over again. Every character has it in one way or another. The betrayal of a parent towards a child is what started the entire thing.
Yeah.
And we see that with the newest one, which was heartbreaking, Victor. Victor screaming at
Victor
his
and
father
Henry.
and saying, "Why are you here? You said you would take care of me. Why are you doing this? You said you would protect me." And he's like full on wanting to kill his own son.
points a
And his
gun at
son is
them.
saying, "You said you would protect me. You said you would
Yeah.
take care of me." And you
Mm.
could almost hear that same thing being echoed by just about every child that was harmed by the adults that were supposed to protect them, like the
Yeah.
uncouth children.
The
Their
uncouth
parents were
children.
supposed to take care of them. Jade
Yeah.
and Tabitha, that's why Jade and Tabitha are more complicated than we make them out to be. At the end of the day, whether they failed them or not, they had an obligation to protect their children and they didn't. They failed.
Yeah. Yeah, again, an opportunity to save the children, but failing. And again, Megan's mom did as well. She had the opportunity, like Random Traveler says, she had enough time, but she couldn't. And again, I think the writers wanted to set up that parallel that you mentioned, PM, that this is exactly what happened to the original Jade and Tabitha. They were too late. They acted too late to save their own children. And yes, is that a failure of that kind of contract, for lack of better terms? It might be. Very, very well it might be. And yeah, as Boyd says to Frank, a man protects his family, Frank. And Boyd says that. Boyd gets so animated when he's saying that to Frank because Boyd knows he has failed to protect his family. He has gotten there too late. He wasn't there when his family needed them. Boyd knows this feeling just as much as anyone else. So yeah, it is 100% a theme that is very much kind of continued throughout the show with so many different characters and so many different iterations. It's not always, parents failing their children. Sometimes it's family failing family, like in the case of Boyd. Boyd, yes, he did fail his son in a sense, Ellis, in that act, but he also failed his wife as well. So yeah, you're seeing family failing to protect family. It's a huge theme of the show. 100%.
That could apply to Jade. That could
Yeah.
apply to Jade because we're talking about if Frank represents Jade, the original Jade, a man protects his family. Jade, if Tabitha had failed their daughter, Jade was supposed to protect their daughter. If
Yeah,
your
yeah.
wife has failed and
It's up to the
somehow
father.
contributed to
Yeah.
harming your child, it is up to you to protect them from even your wife, which is what Boyd, to me, I understand a lot of people get Boyd grief, but to me, what Boyd did was protecting his child. The number one contract that you have in this world is to your child.
Yeah.
Yes, betrayal is going to hurt if your wife betrays you, your husband betrays you, but there
Mhm.
is nothing in this world that is more devastating than a
Yeah.
parent betraying a child. That
Yeah.
is like the most sacred
The
of
ultimate betrayal.
contracts and bonds. That is
Yeah.
the ultimate betrayal. It will never compare even to your beloved betraying you. That's nothing. It's almost like your own creator, your own God, your
It
creator
is.
itself
Yeah.
turning their back
Wow.
on you,
The one
creating you
person that
only
is
to hurt you.
always
That's
supposed to protect
crazy.
you. The one person that is
Exactly.
always supposed to put you before them. It's the natural order of things, of not just human nature, but nature in general. You look at most of the animals in the animal kingdom, most of them are hardwired to protect their young. Yes, not all, but the majority of them are hardwired to protect their offspring, to continue the line and keep it safe. So yeah, it's the ultimate betrayal.
Yeah. And Boyd, he has come through with protecting his son at the expense of his wife, yes.
Yeah.
But when you have to decide between two contracts that you have here, the contract to your wife and the contract to your son, he did the right thing. He
He
did the
did
right thing
100%.
because above everything else is his son, even above his wife, which is the same thing. A man protects his family. When it comes to Jade, if Tabitha had failed their daughter, it was up to Jade to save his daughter, even at the expense of Tabitha. And we see that the monsters tell Jade, you were never the bright one. You were never the smart one. So does that mean that Tabitha was calling all the shots and he was just kind of following
Mhm.
along?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, again, you see it kind of it fits like a puzzle, with so many of these characters and so many of their storylines and so many of the traumas that they're dealing with. A lot of them, yeah, it goes back to fathers or parents failing to protect their children. And again, I think it's why, Boyd gets so animated here, because he's not only has he felt not only has he felt what it feels like to kind of fail your family, but Boyd has also seen so many other families here fail to protect their children as well, I would imagine. So this is, you can tell why it's such a huge, trigger for Boyd, why it's a big issue for him, because it's super fucking personal after everything he's seen and what he's personally been through. But yeah, no, I just, I feel like Harold Perrineau really just completely started off the season with an absolute home run, with probably one of the most memorable lines of the entire series is this line right here. I mean, how many times do we see fans reciting this over and over and over again? A man protects his family, Frank. I would say this is one of the probably top 5 most iconic lines in the history of From. Easily top 5. But yeah, talk about failing to protect family. Kenny couldn't protect either parent as well. Justin, you bring up a very good point. Kenny is also, I mean, it's a little bit different. It's kind of role reversed there, where it's not as egregious as a parent, failing to protect their child. Not quite as devastating, but it is still someone that is failing to protect their family, on 2 occasions. So yeah, I see, again, it's a theme, not just with the parents, but with family in general, for sure. But yeah, the most devastating aspect of it is definitely the the parents not being able to protect their children, because it just goes against the very natural order of things. But we'll see. Wait, hold on. The scene where Jade sees all of his past life. Why didn't he see Frank? Frank is not one of Jade's past lives. Frank is just Frank. Frank's just the wife of Megan. When Jade sees, and Jade didn't see all of his past lives there. He only saw a very small handful of them. It seems like there are many, many, many more, according to what the boy in blue says, or, young Jade. But no, Frank, Frank here is just Frank. He's just regular old Frank. He's not a version of Jade.
Well, I think the confusion here is because of the word. So the word that was used is Frank is the representation of Jade, and Megan's mother is the representation of Tabitha.
Not the reincarnation.
So what that means is it representing, saying that the writers told us, we're going to show you the story, the theme play out with different characters. They will come together and be represented in our main cast, but this is basically what happened at the beginning, right? The answers to the end are at the beginning of the show and at the beginning of the story. So they represent, they are not the actual character. They're just a representation. And I think when the boy in white said, very cheeky, the answers to the end are at the beginning, he didn't just mean at the story. Who else is acting like the boy in white, guys? I feel like the writer of From has been acting like the boy in white.
Oh,
100%. He keeps telling us all the answers are in episode 1. All the answers
go like find them. Good luck.
All the answers are to the end or at the beginning. He keeps telling us the same thing. Doesn't he sound like boy in white?
Oh yeah, 100%. 1,000,000%. This mysterious figure that has all the answers but isn't really giving any of them, is very cryptic in a lot of its wordings. Yeah, 100%. You can see some of those similarities between the boy in white and the writers of the show. Definitely, 100%. And Parker says, so theory that Tabitha and Jade are the parents to all the children. Okay, interesting. They did a deal for their children to live forever, but they were tricked. Normal people like Fatima became a creature over time. All the children have connections with Tabitha and appear with Jade's violin. Interesting. I mean, this is a theory I have not heard before, at least myself anyway, in terms of maybe Jade and Tabitha not just being the child of, not the parents of the Yonkui child, but all of the Yonkui children, not just the daughter. And I suppose anything's possible, but I feel like, we do get that one scene in the season 4 finale where Tabitha, finds the skull. the skull that she believes to be her daughter. And she has that very kind of profound feeling, like she just knows deep down, I am holding the bones of my daughter. But she had to kind of sift through the bag to get to that set of bones. So that does kind of tell me that she's most likely only the parent of the one Onkui daughter. But I do think it's an interesting theory, if nothing else. Again, all of the Onkui children are appearing to Jade and Tabitha, not just her daughter. So who knows? Maybe there's a little more of a connection there. But I do tend to think it's probably just the one, and that the other parents are the other parents, essentially. But it's an interesting theory, a theory I haven't heard before, if nothing else, Parker. So you definitely get some points, my friend. I love hearing new theories. Love it. All right. Let's see. Yeah, Jim broke the failure cycle when he died protecting Julie. Oof. Poor Jim. I don't know. I feel like Jim upheld his duty to protect his child and what he did for Julie. I mean, Jim put himself in harm's way in between Julie and the man in yellow so Julie wouldn't get hurt. He ended up getting killed in the process, yes. But I feel like Jim did everything he could to protect his family. I feel like that's one aspect Jim didn't really fail in. But that's just me. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. All right. Let's see what else we can see. And of course, let us know, guys, what other stuff did you pick up on? If you did do a rewatch, if you went back and checked out episode 1, episode 2, what were some of the new things that you guys picked up on now that we have seen season 4? That is one reason Jim upset me at first, because he led Kenny to the woods for nothing, and in Kenny's absence, Tian Shen was murdered. If Kenny had been there, he may have saved his mom. I mean, I think that's an interesting way to look at it, if nothing else, with Angels. Jim and Kenny, they were going on, this food run, searching for food. If Kenny hadn't gone out there, could he potentially have had a chance to save Tian Shen? Maybe. I think that's a possibility, because we look at what happened when Tian Shen died. The monsters letting out all of the livestock. If that would have happened, you best believe Kenny would have been out there with Boyd. 100% he would have been out there wrangling all of them up. And Kenny probably would have stopped his mother from going out, period. So no, I think that's an interesting argument to make, that if Kenny was there, yeah, maybe he could have saved Tian Shen. He probably could have saved Tian Shen. Yeah, I think that's very plausible. That is very plausible. I think Kenny had been there, he would have been in his mother's place. Yeah, maybe. Probably would have died to torture Boyd just the same. That's a possibility. I mean, if Kenny is there, does he save Tian Shen, but in effect, die himself? Does he end up taking her place? Definitely 100% a possibility, maybe a likely possibility. Because, yeah, he would have been taking the place of Tian Shen, and he would have been with Boyd at that point in the barn instead of her. So, yeah, Kenny probably would have died. Probably would have died. Why did she get a nosebleed when she got surrounded by the children in the forest when she saw them all? Has that happened since? I don't think that has happened since. Like, out of all of the times that the Onkui children have showed up to Tabitha, I do believe that's the only time she gets a bloody nose. At least just, going off my recollection anyway. I do believe that's the only time. I don't think it's happened since.
It hasn't. And it was interesting because I was thinking, why is she getting the bloody nose? Is this an
Yeah.
indication that she is having some sort of memory or she has superpowers? But no, they kind of just used it once. Now, talking about the first episode, right? I don't know if we're going in order or not. We are in 1 hour, 43 minutes, and we haven't made it past Frank. A man protects his families. But so I'm going to bring it up.
All right.
A lot of people, when it comes to Toby, they were giving Toby grief for not mentioning Jade.
Jade, yeah.
Because he only says, they ask him, are you okay? Is there anybody else? Right? And he doesn't mention Jade.
He's got a massive head wound.
Well, there is another thing that he does. So we have to take everything that he says. If we're going to take that, we can isolate it. We must take everything that Toby says as a clue. When he stumbles into town, because that's the first thing that they see, they know that there's a car crash because he's stumbling into the town. So when they see him, guess what he says? He says, "We need help. We need help." So he talks about a we. Now you could take that as, does he mean we, the two
Exactly.
vehicles? Or
Him
does
and
he mean
Jade, or the
we, me
yeah,
and Jade?
exactly.
What is he talking about? So you kind of have to take both statements.
Yeah.
I think that that is evidence that Toby does know about Jade. He
Mhm.
doesn't mention him at the beginning, but then he does say, "We need help." So we have to take both Toby's statements.
Mhm.
They basically cancel each other out
Yeah.
at that point, because he
Yeah.
mentions a we and then he mentions a singular. It's canceling each other out. But my theory with Toby is that the boy in white told Toby, "Don't mention Jade. They're going to
Mm.
try to kill him." The boy in white knows that the man in yellow has been talking to Sarah. He knows that he has been planning stuff with Sarah. That's what I believe. And because he knows that Sarah's going to try to kill Jade, I believe that the boy in white, as Toby was coming in, talked to Toby just like he talked to the other people that we have seen, like Elgin in the past. He talked to Toby and said, "Don't mention Jade. Don't talk about Jade." Because he already knew that Sarah is talking to the man in yellow. He's working her head, right? So he doesn't mention Jade. Now, when he's in the hospital, Toby, if you could play that scene, Jeremy, it's very, very short. Look at the way that Toby looks at the people around him. There is a nurse that puts him on the bed and she's like, "Oh, just lay down, take a rest." She gives her the most distrusting, evilest, dirty eye look.
Oh,
And I
okay.
believe that's because, in my theory, the boy in white told them, "Beware. You have to beware of these people that are gonna try to take care of you," because he already knew that the man in yellow was planning to slaughter Jade, and this was a way of kind of keeping Jade, safe by saying, "Don't talk about Jade." That way, they're gonna think that Jade didn't come in. Jade is safe, and when they try to kill the man, which was supposed to be Jade, it's actually gonna be Toby. But look at the
Okay.
way that
No,
Toby looks at the nurse. I didn't catch that the first time around, and then you see it, and he is so distrusting of her. Not there when he's in the bed. So
later
keep
on when he's in
going.
the bed. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's find that. No, I didn't catch
There.
that
Do you
myself
see?
either.
Okay, so go back, back, back. You'll see her putting up,
Here we go.
yeah, right before. So look at the way that he looks at her. He gives her like a distrusting look.
Like he's just distrusting everybody around him potentially because of the
Yeah,
message
look.
that the boy in white gave him, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
So look, he has his eyes closed, but then
Look.
do you see? He was like almost pretending to have his eyes closed, and as soon as she leaves, he opens them.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
but
I
keep
see. I see what
going.
you're seeing.
Because
I see what you're
then he
seeing.
does it extra. Keep going.
All right.
He's
Let's see
looking at her
this.
distrusting.
And he
You see
goes like
that?
right back, like he's asleep, like he's
He
pretending to sleep,
pretends,
maybe.
but he gives her
Okay.
like a super distressing. Let's see if you could remove this darkness, because then you can't really see his eye roll. He looks at her super distressing. He's pretending to have his eyes closed and be asleep, because he's not asleep. He opens his eyes when she's there. When she leaves, he opens them. See, he's pretending. You see that?
Okay. Okay.
And then closes back like if he was asleep. And I think it's because Boy and White told them, "Don't trust these people."
Told him
Right?
not to
Do not
trust
trust
anyone,
them.
or don't tell
Don't
anyone
tell
about
them
Jade.
about Jade. Mhm.
Okay. Okay. I mean, if nothing else, we do have at least some context for the boy in white giving messages to characters as soon as they arrive in Fromville. This happens with Elgin at the very beginning of season 2. When Elgin first enters the town, the boy in white sends him this message, which freaks him out, gets him kind of, trying to get the bus to turn around. So if nothing else, there's a little bit of a precedent for it. I know some people think that it was the boy in white that was speaking to Father Cautry as well. We have that very interesting story about Father Cautry, how he was about to literally commit suicide, about to jump off a bridge, until he heard a voice that he thought was God telling him to get back in the car and to continue driving. And then, boom, a few hours later, he ends up in Fromville. So if this is all the boy in white, or the children, with the boy in white, maybe there is, more context for Toby getting some kind of message from the boy in white when he first arrived. And could that explain just completely not acknowledging Jade, not telling him about him, not telling anybody about him? I think it's a possibility. And again, this whole Toby thing, if nothing else, I really hope we do get a definitive answer for it in the final season, because this has been a big question that the fandom has been wanting to know for a very long time. What the is going on with Toby? But no, I like it. I think it's a plausible theory that has some evidence within the show to back it up.
Yeah, I think Toby was just protecting Jade because Boy in White knew there was inner workings going on with Sarah. So he has to protect his two people. Now, there's something really interesting about the message that Father Cautry got. When you start watching the season, you start to see in season 1 that they keep discussing something that comes back when Mariel's bus arrives. They say, I was about to, commit suicide. And then 2 hours later, I arrive here. And then 2 hours get mentioned again by Mariel, saying that in the bus, like, you're 2 hours away. I've been looking for you, and all this time you're just 2 hours away. So they keep on mentioning this 2 hours that it took from the characters to come into From. So Eldrin was also on that bus. Maybe the boy in white's range is 2 hours from when you
That's
are within 2
far?
hours.
Okay.
Yeah, he can communicate with you.
Which is why maybe he popped Tabitha into the real world and she landed in Camden, Maine, because he only has a certain range. Okay.
He has a 2-hour range. Eldrin heard him and Father Cautry heard him, and they were about 2 hours away.
I could buy that. Definitely. 100%. I mean, because if the boy in white is located in Fromville and he has some degree of control, not control, but some degree of, being able to reach out into the real world, it would make sense that it would have some kind of limitation, that he wouldn't just have this never ending reach to reach all the way across, to another country or another continent. And maybe that's even more evidence for why everybody that gets pulled into Fromville gets pulled in from the continental United States, because there's only so much range that not just the boy has, but the children themselves, the Onkui children themselves, maybe only have a certain range in which they can pull people into Fromville, and maybe that's limited to the States.
Yep. Now, I do have a second theory about Toby. Why did Toby have to die is the question, right? So I believe that the children, they kind of try to call into From. We know that they're the ones that are putting these people in there, they're crying out for help. Jade, Tabitha hear them, they come in, and other people hear the children and also come in. So I believe that maybe Toby had to be killed because he would have been an asset,
An
somebody
ally.
that had the tools.
That's what was my thinking too. Yeah,
that would
he
get
would have
them
been a friend.
further.
Isolate him. Yep.
Well, I believe that it wasn't so much the friendship, but it had to be
Well, he wants to
some
isolate
sort of
him.
tools. So when I think about people that these guys couldn't get far without, is Boyd. Boyd has strategy. He has training that has been able to get the town really far because of his training and the tools that he had from the real world. So if he would have taken out Boyd, these people would have never gotten this far because they never would have had, time to think, because they would have been in survival mode without the talismans, without the food. So when it comes to Boyd, he's a super great asset because of his training and the tools he had. I think that Toby could have been a Boyd-like figure where something in Toby's background gave him the tools that would have been needed to figure out what From is. We never
For all we
find
know,
out.
Toby could have been just as much a genius as Jade. Imagine having
Yeah,
two
we never
Jades in
find
there.
out what he does for a living. We don't
No,
find out much about his specific work.
no.
But if he possessed some sort of work like Boyd, if he was some sort of military, if he was in some sort of thing like this, having two people with tools that can get these people far
Two
along
geniuses
would
like
not
this.
be helpful.
No.
Even
And
if
again,
it's, just knowing the land like Boyd.
mhm. And it isolates Jade. It makes him more vulnerable if he's alone, if he doesn't have that best friend to count on, that best friend to lean on in a place like this. Having a friend in a place like this is a huge asset, or having family in a place like this is a huge asset, as opposed to just being alone, isolated, by yourself, vulnerable, nobody to trust, nobody to rely on, nobody to help you solve all of this stuff. So yeah, for all we know, Toby could have been just as much of a genius. And that was when we first saw Toby get killed. Those were the two ideas that I thought were maybe the most likely, that either the man in whatever these voices were at the time, we didn't know it was the man in yellow at the time. They just wanted to isolate Jade. They wanted him to be alone. And I know that the other pretty popular theory that was going around that time is that the voices got it wrong. They thought Toby was Jade. And now that we've learned a little bit more about the man in yellow, I think that theory is a little less likely, because it seems like the man in yellow knows exactly who Jade is, exactly who Tabitha is. So I do tend to think it's more on the lines of they might have just wanted to isolate Jade, keep him alone, don't have him have any assets at his disposal, give him, why give him an advantage that would help him solve this place? Isolate him, keep him alone, and that makes him more vulnerable. But I also want to say goodnight to Doug as well. Well, once again, it's past my bedtime, kiddies. So I'll bid you adieu. We bid you adieu as well, Doug. Hope you have a good night, my friend. Thank you for joining us. As always, it is always a pleasure to have you hanging out with us. Awesome stuff. But yeah. Hopefully we'll get some kind of definitive answer for Toby. It's been a very long running theory for a very long time, a long running question that a lot of fans have had for a very long time. A lot of good theories out there that have been going around. Again, I remember when I first saw the theory that was going around that Jade wasn't real, that Jade just kind of manifested in Toby's car or hopped in Toby's car after the fact, and Toby didn't know he was back there. Again, there's a lot of really cool and interesting tinfoil theories out there trying to crack the code as to what is going on with Toby. But yeah, again, sometimes the simpler answer can be the right one. And they might have just wanted to isolate Jade, keep him alone, so we didn't have this kind of asset to lean on. But yeah, who knows? Hopefully we'll get an answer. Hopefully we get a definitive answer on Jade. Okay. I have a theory about Toby's death. All right. Awesome. Yeah. Anybody who has other theories about Toby's death, please, guys, throw them in the chat. I think the same way Tabitha's reincarnations always come with a boy and a girl, according to Victor's. Same way Jade has to come alone, at least we know that with Chris. Yeah, as far as we know, as far as we know anyway, Christopher didn't seem to arrive with anyone. We have no confirmation of Christopher arriving with anyone. It seems like he might have arrived alone too. So no, I think that's an interesting possibility. Is it another one of those parallels that has to kind of repeat itself, like you said, with Tabitha and the two children? Is Jade of a similar kind of circumstance where he always has to arrive alone? Maybe. Toby, you are a genius, Jade said. Well, yeah, Toby does say that, but that seemed to be in reference to at the time Jade thought that all of this was just one giant elaborate escape room that Toby set up. And if nothing else, he at least thought that Toby was capable of setting something like this up. And that does lean into Toby maybe being a little more clever, maybe being just as clever as Jade.
Exactly, at a massive scale. And he said this must have cost a fortune.
Yeah.
So it sounds like Jade made a fortune because of his company.
And Toby might have been his partner.
If you have a friend that you would consider would buy an entire town and set up a simulation for you, then that friend probably is equally as intelligent as you and is probably into that sort of world where it is an immersive experience, an escape sort of room.
Totally.
They're into that. That's why you would be like, oh, only one person could have done this, and that has to be Toby. So if he
Mm,
believed them capable of a massive scale project like this,
yeah.
that's because it's showing us that Toby did possess some sort of intelligence, was into experiences being taken from fiction into the real world, and having characters act out a storyline. So he believed that that was right up his alley. I think that,
Yeah,
yeah, maybe, Toby had his very own company. When we think
maybe.
about Jade, he kind of gives off the Silicon Valley bro
Oh
sort
yeah,
of style.
totally.
And
Yeah.
who do they hang out with?
Fellow
Usually,
tech gurus, fellow entrepreneurs, fellow
exactly.
geniuses. Yeah.
And a lot of the times it's not because they met them once they had the company, but they went to college together, they went to school
We're
together, they were
friends. Yeah.
interested in the same things,
Yeah.
and they
Totally.
built simultaneously companies, sister companies, that deal in the same sort of things. So maybe Toby had his very own company that
Yeah.
did different things like that.
Totally. Easily. I think it fits. I think it makes sense. With Jade believing that Toby was capable of setting up this very elaborate kind of custom built fucking giant town escape room. Yeah, I think it just makes sense that Jade and Toby are of a similar background, came from similar kind of professions. And that leans into them probably having similar intellects as well. So yeah, I think it was just might have been they just wanted to isolate Jade, take away this tool, as you mentioned, that he won't have at his disposal anymore. So no, I like that. I like it. I think it fits. I think it fits. But Makita also brings up, okay, so are we saying the man in yellow has power in the real world as well? This is where I get stuck. That's where I get a little bit stuck too, as well, Makita. I'm right there with you, because we just don't really have enough context for what the man in yellow is really, really capable of. I mean, we've seen with our own eyes that the boy in white has manifested in the real world. Hell, he was across the street and Tabitha actually saw him. Was that just a projection of him or actually him? I don't know. But either way, it stands to reason that he has some kind of degree of ability to cross over in some form to the real world. But again, when it comes to the man in yellow, we just don't really know because we know nothing about him. But I suppose I wouldn't be too surprised maybe if he had some kind of degree. But then again, part of me also likes the idea that the man in yellow is also trapped here along with the monsters, just like everyone else. And that he's stuck here just like every other entity. So yeah, that's one of those things that we just don't have enough context. We don't have enough data to really know definitively if the man in yellow can have any kind of influence on the real world. We just don't know yet. But who knows? Who knows what is possible? Are we sure the man in yellow told Sarah to kill Toby? She said they promised her she could go home. I mean, Sarah does mention that, just the way Sarah describes it, she describes it as more than one voice, multiple different voices. But then again, that could still be the man in yellow. We've seen the man in yellow is capable of disguising his voice. He sounded like Thomas before. He can clearly sound like different people. So again, even though Sarah kind of makes it seem like it's multiple different voices kind of talking to her, which again, it could have been, but it still could be the man in yellow because we know we can change his voice or at least sound like other people over the phone, and probably similar to kind of projecting it into Sarah's head. But do we know definitively?
We kind of do know definitively.
I think we kind of do. I feel like it was pretty much confirmed in season 4 with seeing her do it to Sarah. We saw her do it to her.
Yeah, in season 4, she does it. She does the incantation. And then Sarah starts hearing the voices, the same voices as before. Now, you can infer, we don't actually know that, but then we get confirmation from Sarah. Because Sarah tells Elgin, the voices are back and they want me to do this other thing. So Sarah confirms that to us when she has the conversation telling Elgin, they're back. I'm afraid that something will happen to everybody if I spit back into the water, but they want me to do this, right? And she mentions they want me to. So she confirms that when the man in yellow speaks to her, apparently it sounds like a lot of people.
Multiple voices. And I think that that's part of the whole ruse. That's part of the whole scheme, to make it seem like these are voices that have been trapped here for a very long time that can help you. We know how to help you. We're trapped here too. Because that is what the voices told Sarah in the beginning. When Sarah is in Father Cautry's basement in season 1, like when Father Cautry grabs her, throws her in the basement, that is one thing that she says to Father Cautry, that these voices have been here. These people have been stuck here for a very, very long time, just like us. That's what she says to Cautry. So yeah, it seems like this has been made to seem, or at least the Man in Yellow's cover is to make it seem like these are just souls that were trapped here just like them. Create that kind of familiarity between Sarah and these voices that she's hearing. If Sarah thinks that these are just people that have been stuck here, she's going to be much more inclined to listen to them and believe them. So yeah, I think it's just part of the manipulation tactic from the Man in Yellow. Make it seem like this is a bunch of people talking to her, communicating with her, that are also stuck here just like her. So yeah, I feel like we do get pretty good confirmation of that in season 4, that it's pretty seemingly the Man in Yellow causing these voices in Sarah's head, for sure. But we'll see. We shall see. My theory, Toby was killed because he was in the way. The voices Sarah hears tell her that certain people must die to save everyone. Might also be why Jim died, because he was quote unquote in the way. And again, I think the reasoning that these voices give to Sarah are just manipulation, good manipulation tactics in order to scare her into thinking that this is the only option. Doing this will lead to you getting everybody else home, sacrifice one to save the many kind of deal. But yeah, again, I think he was going to be an asset. I think they wanted to isolate Jade and just keep him alone. But who knows? And I know you break up Jim as well. Did Jim have to die because of a similar kind of reason? I don't know. Maybe. Who knows? Was Jim also in the way? Maybe. Yeah, maybe Toady would have been the yin to Jing's Jade. It could have been. It could have been one of those situations where they just play very well off of each other. They work well together. Clearly they're very close friends. Yeah, I just think it makes sense that maybe Jade would have been able to solve some of this stuff a little bit quicker or a little bit more efficiently if he had somebody, of his equal intellect in there with him brainstorming all of this. Absolutely. Yeah, Toby and Jade together when Jim solves Rumville. Again, Jim was an asset. Jim was definitely an asset. He's the one who pretty much solved the riddle of the numbers inside the bottles in the bottle tree. Without Jim, Jade might have never solved that, or at the very least, it probably would have taken him a lot longer to solve it. But yeah, I like it. What about when her and Boyd were in the woods? It was another voice when she said the voice was different. That is the one voice that I do think actually might have been Boyd's wife, Abby. And I think that the writers were very specific in telling us through Sarah that this time it was different. This time the voice was a female, Sarah says. And that's a very clear distinction. It seems like the voices Sarah was hearing before this were all male voices, apparently. This time, she says, it was different. This time, it was a woman's voice. And just based on what that voice told Sarah about Boyd, about Fish and Loaves, about telling Boyd, I was wrong about this place. You need to turn around. There's worse things out here in the forest than the monsters. So when Sarah hears that other voice, I do still to this day genuinely think that that was Boyd's wife. That was the legitimate Abby trying to warn Boyd that there are worse things out here and that I was wrong about this place. I was wrong. This isn't a dream. This is very real, and there are dangerous things out there in that forest, and you need to go back. So that was kind of my understanding of that scene when I saw her, that this was a completely different voice, and it seemed like the writers wanted us to know this was a completely different voice. And again, the information the voice gives to Sarah and Boyd, I feel backs it up that was probably the real Abby. But who knows? Who knows? Could have just been another voice. But we'll see. And that's another big question. Why would Sarah kiss Toby? I don't know. I mean, we've talked, about that in the past in terms of like just some jokes, like, Sarah knows that she has to kill this poor guy. So she wants him to go out, with one like happy little memory. Let me give you a little kiss before I have to literally shove the knife in your throat. I don't know. That is a good question. Why would Sarah go and kiss him? I mean, maybe she just felt bad. She felt bad that she knew she was going to have to do this. Sarah is a good person at heart. She was very much, manipulated by these voices earlier in season 1, but Sarah is a good person. I know like people like to paint Sarah as like this psychopathic character. She really isn't that. At least I don't think she really is that deep down. I think she is someone that was manipulated very easily because she wanted to do good, because she wanted to help everyone. And she got to the point where these voices convinced her that sacrificing the one will save the many. And Sarah even is very conflicted with this. We hear her go up to Christy and specifically ask Christy, if you knew that you could get out of this place, but you had to do something really, really bad, would you do it? And that is what kind of leads Sarah to being okay with trying to kill Ethan, because she just wasn't on board with doing it herself, because she isn't a bad person deep down. So yeah, maybe it was just simply, she just wanted, she felt bad that she had to kill Toby, so she gave him a little kiss. I don't know. Who knows? But we'll see. We shall see. All right, let me get to these. We got Sunflower for $19.99. Wow, thank you so much, Sunflower, for the $19.99. Very, very much appreciate you. Wow, wow, wow. Evil fairies, witches, and malicious spirits didn't collect teeth as a friendly trade. People believed the dark creatures used the person's lost teeth to cast powerful curses to control the child, gain absolute magic power over them. And again, I came across stuff like this when I went into some of my druidic kind of research. When we first see Sophia and we see the kind of magic that she's using, it's very much earth-based magic, where she isn't relying on, like a god or anything. It seems like she's relying on just the natural forces of nature, drawing on natural forces and using specific ingredients to achieve spells. And that does very much line up with a lot of different magic practitioners that date back a long time, but with the druids being kind of one of them. But I like the idea. Again, I know the fairy theory has become really, really popular. It's kind of, surfaced again. The fairy theory was super popular during like those first 2 seasons, but it seems like it's kind of coming back in a big way, where I see a lot of people talking about the fairy theories nowadays. And it's definitely plausible. I mean, when we see some of the aspects of some of Sophia's magic, some of the abilities that the Man in Yellow has, the shape shifting, all of this stuff, I wouldn't be surprised if it went a little bit into that kind of Fae territory. I'm not really expecting that, but I wouldn't be surprised, I guess. But yeah, a lot of stuff going on over here in terms of the magical element of it. And one thing I am glad about from is it does feel like we are very much, there's no going back. We're very much firmly in magical territory. I just don't see, after everything we've seen up until this point, I don't see how the story could somehow get some kind of twist where all of this is somehow sci-fi kind of based. Seems like we're very much in supernatural and magic territory. But no, I think that's interesting. The fairies, the witches, malicious spirits, they didn't collect teeth just for friends, but for actual ingredients for spells. And that is something that is very prevalent in a lot of these kind of more earth, nature-based magic practitioners. They need ingredients like these to create spells. So yeah, maybe that's where the teeth come in, for sure. For sure. And thank you so much, Sunflower, for the $19.99. Very, very much appreciate that. And we also have another for who has been a member for 2 months. Thank you, Sunflower, again. Boy in White is in charge of the crows. Maybe again, the crows are another aspect of the show that we just really don't have enough context for. But we did get that one scene in season 4 that a lot of people did notice right away, that when the crows show up for the funeral, Sophia did not look happy. Like, she didn't look happy to see the crows. She almost looked borderline a little bit worried, a little bit concerned. And that has led a lot of people to wonder if these crows aren't kind of a malicious force, that maybe they are controlled by the boy in white. Maybe they are a force for good. I don't know. I don't know. But again, that Sophia scene was pretty interesting. When she saw those crows show up, she definitely did not look very happy. That much did look clear. Now, why that is, I don't know. But she did seem a little like, "Why forget you here?" type deal. So yeah, hopefully we'll get a definitive answer when it comes to the crows. I know there's been so many theories surrounding the crows and what they are, what function they're going to serve in like the actual narrative. I don't know. At this point, I feel like we still just don't have enough data to really go off. Again, that Sophia scene was interesting. It definitely, makes you theorize in the direction that Sophia doesn't control these crows. But if she doesn't, who does? Is it the boy in white, or are they just their own kind of force within Fromville? I don't know. Again, when I saw the crows, I kind of always just tend to thought, earlier on that, maybe there isn't some kind of deeper meaning for these crows. Maybe the crows are simply just here for aesthetic purposes, to make Fromville seem and look like a creepy ass place. I mean, if you want to make a place look creepy, add crows to it, add a murder of crows to it. That is always going to make something look creepy. But I don't know. After, the way Sophia kind of was really kind of taken aback by that crow showing up, now I tend to think that they're going to play a little bit more of an important role in season 5.
I think the crows are the souls of the dead people.
That's a big popular theory. Yeah.
And I think every time that they see the tree and they see the crows, it is because those people are trying to warn them.
Warn
Like,
them.
hey, it's a bad omen. This is a very bad omen. Watch
And
out.
that would line
right?
up with why the crows weren't present when Sophia.
Yeah, because they
made it.
knew. They were like,
'Cause
we
they
know
knew who she
exactly
were.
what you're doing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the crows don't show up for her.
Yeah.
Now, also, when the crow shows up, if you kind of look at that scene, is really interesting because animals are not that organized. So the scene when the crow shows up to the funeral, I believe that that crow is the representation of Jim's soul,
Of Jim, the one that lands on Jim's grave.
because
Mhm.
he not only goes and lands, stands right in front of Jim's grave, but he also cacaws over at Sophia, like he is telling on her, she killed
Yeah.
me, there's
Like, hey,
something bad.
he's
Like
bad.
he's
Yeah.
trying to warn them, there is somebody amongst you that has done
Yeah.
this. And if you notice, all the other crows, they filmed them standing at top of the church, and they show you that all the other crows are very intelligently giving him the opportunity to talk by himself, because
Mhm.
instead of being a ton of crows cacaing, it is only Jim's crow that has the floor, Jim's crow that is doing the noise. Everybody
Mhm.
else, all the other crows, are just silently watching from atop of the church. So that shows you that there is some organization that they have allowed for a reason. This crow has the importance to be the only one who's speaking at that time, and all the
Yeah.
other ones are there just to morally support him.
It's
I do
more.
believe. Mhm.
I like it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because they're
I
not
mean,
saying anything.
they're
They
not
just
saying
stand here and they
anything.
let
Yeah,
him have the
they're
floor,
chilling back on
and
the
it's
roofs and stuff. Yeah.
until he stops. They chime in like, hell yeah, Jim, tell him,
Oh yeah,
Jim.
Jim,
Then they
you
start.
tell him. You fucking
Tell
expose
him
her.
she's
No,
a
I love
total.
that. I
Yeah,
love that. I
exactly.
love the little crow being Jim trying to warn his family. It's just
It
it's something
and
cute
come
about that.
on, who
Yeah.
loved making crow noises?
Jim, he
Jim.
loves
Who
making all
did
these
everybody
weird
laugh at and
bird and
say that he
animal
was being
noises.
such a dad?
Yeah.
Jim was
Yeah.
going like caca caca, and Julie was like, "Oh my god, I'm so embarrassed. Please stop doing this in Colony House." And
Yeah.
even in the season 1 episode 1, when he's driving, he's doing the caca caca, and he thinks he's hilarious. And
Thinks he's
Tabitha just rolls her eyes at him like, "Oh my gosh, shut up." So
like,
it's
shut up,
almost
Jim.
giving you the indication that he does this all the time
All the
because
time, and
of
it's
the Crumb
always
and Apple
annoying
book.
her. Yeah.
He does this all the time for the kids. So there's a history to Jim acting like a crow and cacawing. I believe that that little crow was Jim. That's little Jim the crow.
Little Jim. No, I like that idea too, because I mean that's one of the things that just pops into mind, right? I mean, it lands right on Jim's freaking grave, and it's just going haywire. And the way Sophia looks at it, again, she did not look very happy to see it. But no, I like that idea. I always like the idea of maybe the crow being Jim, or not just Jim, but the crows being the kind of the manifestation of the souls in Fromville. Again, energy can't be created or destroyed. It can only be transformed from one form to another form. Maybe this is the other form that those souls end up in when they do die in Fromville. I think it's interesting. I've always liked that theory. Always liked that theory. And we also have, and I did see a lot of people were asking this when that episode first aired as well. Oh, sorry, wrong comment. Where was it? Where was I? When the crows show up, why did Randall ignore them? And he doesn't. He doesn't actually ignore them. I know it kind of looks that way, but if you go back and watch that scene, the reason why Randall is looking at the ground and everybody else is looking up is because Randall is looking at the crow on the ground. If you actually look at the position that Randall is standing in and the direction that his eyes are looking in, Randall is looking right at the ground, right at the crow that has just landed on Jim's grave. And I think that's why a lot of people see Randall and they're wondering, like, why is he not looking up at all these crows? It's because he's looking down. He's looking at the crow that is closest to him, the one that is making the most noise, the one that is cawing. So while, some of those angles make it look like Randall just isn't paying attention to the crows, he's really actually watching the one on the ground.
Yeah, I know that a lot of people were suspicious of Randall, and
Mhm.
also the suspicion kind of continued to season 4, the finale, episode 10, because when the lightning is happening, everybody's also looking up, and Randall's just looking down. He's not really looking at the sky with the lightning. But I
Yeah.
think that Randall has proven to be one, a helper, two, a honest person despite his appearance, and somebody that cares
Yeah.
for the Matthews family, who's at the center of the story. Now he's also a very stoic, lonely sort of person. So he's not going to show fear. We know that
No.
when he's afraid or something terrifying is happening, he kind of puts up a front. We saw that in the bus. When all of the monsters came over, he was like, you know what? Fuck you.
Fuck
You don't
you.
scare
Think I'm
me,
afraid of you?
right?
Think this is scary?
Exactly. And he was terrified. We know
Oh,
that he was scared because he
yeah.
then confesses to Boyd, at least you guys have shades. I have to be out here and I have to see those
Yes.
horrifying things every night. So he
Yeah.
admits to being scared. But every time that something like this happens, he puts up this facade of
Totally.
stoicism, right? Like kind of hardens his face and pretends it doesn't bother him.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I take his character. When unnatural things are happening, he's going to put up a face, a facade of stoicism, and look away as if it doesn't bother him, even if the world is falling apart around him.
Yeah, I think Randall's got one of those kind of personalities where he just doesn't always want to show his emotions. He's certainly one of the characters that doesn't want to show weakness. He does not want to portray any kind of weakness, emanating from him. But yeah, that's kind of how Randall is. But in the funeral scene, it looks like he's just looking at the crow on the ground. But yeah. We also have another super chat from Sunflower for $4.99. Thank you so much, Sunflower. Very much appreciated. Show the pic of the boy in white in the beginning. They are speaking for boy in white. His mouth is made of a crow. He represents their soul. And maybe this was, this has been in the intro sequence from the very beginning. They've never changed this. And this is something that people did notice right off the bat, right from the very beginning. I mean, it's kind of hard not to, right? I mean, very much clearly looks like his mouth is in the shape of a crow. So yeah, is that more evidence leaning into he represents their soul? I don't know. Maybe. It's certainly a possibility. Is it a possibility that he at least has some kind of connection to the crows, the boy in white? Maybe. But yeah, this was something that a lot of people noticed right off the bat, and it has birthed so many theories. This one image has created so many fan theories over the years, and some really good ones at times. But yeah, what does it mean? what kind of connection does the boy in white have to the crows, if any? I don't know. Don't know.
I think that they are
Um,
good. And I think that they're
I do
aware.
too.
If they
I
are
do
the
too.
humans, then they are aware
No.
that the crows showing up en masse are going to have a negative impact on the humans, that they're going to take it as a bad omen. I think that they know that that is the emotion that they evoke.
Yeah. That
So,
they're
for
going to be afraid of
example,
them.
so you use that. You're a good guy, but you're like, they're gonna see crows. It's gonna be a bad omen. Let's go over there by the tree. All of us, let's surround the tree and let them know, you guys, this is a bad place. Don't trust anybody here. That way, if they're arriving and they see people that look really nice, they know, hey, there's something supernatural. They're doing their best to let them know that it's not a good place, and using the fact that they may appear scary to people. That's why one of you guys in the chat was questioning, why did the crow throw themselves through the window when Fatima was getting the tarot reading and she
Yeah.
was about to find out if this was a good or a bad thing? I believe that the crow, they know most people are not going to see us as a good omen. And that was a suicide mission. That was one of them saying, we know this baby is demonic. We know that this lady that is reading the cards and interpreting everything keeps telling her everything is good. Let's give her a clear sign that this baby is bad news. Let's throw yourself through the
Okay.
window
Yeah.
and die right in front of her feet so that she gets it through.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
couldn't be more clear. You could not be more clear as to say it's a
It's a
bad
bad
seed.
omen. I like it.
And
No,
if
I
you
like
have
it.
to do that by throwing yourself through the window and killing yourself right in front of her as a little crow,
And
that is a
and
way to get a clear message across to Fatima without the intervention of this lady.
and it also kind of parallels, some of the, theories that we've been talking about in terms of being able or being willing to sacrifice yourself for the greater good, for the, for the group, which, there's been a lot of theories about, there might have to be another sacrifice that maybe Jade or Tabitha or the townsfolk themselves have to be willing to sacrifice
Mhm.
themselves in order to stop all of this. Just like that
And
poor
you don't
crow
die.
was willing to
You can't
sacrifice
escape.
himself.
Yeah, Jeremy, and you're already a crow. That means that you died a human. You know that
Exactly.
your energy can't go anywhere. So if I was a crow, I'd be killing myself every day because guess what?
Left
I'm
and
gonna go
right.
back to being a crow. I'm just
Maybe.
gonna go back to being another crow, and I'm gonna keep throwing myself through windows until
Just throw,
I
yeah,
give them the message. This is bad news.
yeah,
I
bad
mean, they
news.
answered the question for Fatima. Her question was, "Is this baby good or bad?" The crow said, "Let
You
me
got
take
the
it off your
answer.
hands." We got your answer.
You
It's
got your
bad. Look,
answer. Listen to us. You don't need a fucking tarot card. You need to listen to this poor bird that's going to sacrifice himself to let you know that you got a crazy fucking baby in you. Yeah, no, I like it. I like it. And Jordan Matthew also brings up, do we still believe Donna is a mole? I never believed Donna was a mole. Just myself personally. I know that has been a pretty big popular theory within the fandom, and I know there's probably still plenty of people that are still thinking Donna is super sus. But no, I never thought Donna was a mole. I never got mole vibes from Donna personally.
mhm.
And even the actress kind of recently came out and kind of said, no, Donna's not a mole. So no, I don't think Donna's a mole. I don't think she was ever a mole, but I could very well be wrong.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, listen, if you would have asked me about Clara, I would have told you it's a
That's
silly
true
thing to
too.
make Clara the mole. And
Yeah,
guess what? She was the mole. So what the hell do we know?
it's
I don't
possible.
believe that Donna is a mole because it doesn't, not only does it not fit the character, but we don't have enough time. Okay, we have to resolve so many questions. We can introduce a new one. There's
Mhm.
only going to be 10 episodes, and that's not enough time to have this whole deception with Donna.
Yeah,
Now, I'm
another
not
mole.
concerned about Donna making a deal like Clara. Clara made the deal before she knew the people in Colony House
Yeah.
and the community. You know why I'm not concerned,
Well,
even if
Donna's not
Donna
going to
did make
be
a deal.
easily manipulated like that.
Even if she did make a deal, Donna is a survivor. That's what Boyd told us. She is smart enough that if she made a deal a long time ago before she met anybody in Colony House, and the man in yellow comes a knocking and the bill is due, she's smart enough to say, okay, I'm going to go do your bidding. She'll go and she will backstab the man in yellow and tell all the people, the man in yellow, who it is and all of that. And she will not be
Yeah.
afraid of doing that. And she'll go out.
Mhm.
Even if she has to die, she'll be like, whatever. You know, she will
Okay.
kill herself over giving info. You know how everybody wanted Elgin to kind of backstab the man in yellow and say, yeah, sure, I'll do whatever you want me to do, and then go tell on him? He
Mhm.
doesn't have it in him to do that. But you know who does? Donna.
Donna,
Donna is a
100%. Donna's
survivor.
not
She
going to
would
be
be like, "Oh
manipulated.
yeah, I got you, man in yellow. I'll go
Yeah.
do that." And
Yeah.
she'll go straight to Boyd and say, "I'm probably gonna die,
I'm
but
probably
this
going
is
to
what
die.
it is.
Yeah. Well,
This is
that's
what
the
it
thing.
is."
Donna's the type of character where I don't feel like not that she doesn't value her life, but Donna is definitely the type of character that would easily sacrifice herself if it meant keeping other people safe. I don't think she would hesitate in a second, for a second. But yeah, I just feel like, Donna just isn't the type of character that I think the man in yellow would want to even attempt to do a bargain with, because she just isn't that type of person. She doesn't have that type of personality. She's not easily manipulated. She's smarter. She's a little bit stronger. I mean, we see the kind of character type that the man in yellow goes after in terms of trying to manipulate people. It's a very specific character type, like the Sarahs, the Elgins, the more vulnerable people, the more innocent and gullible type people. Donna just isn't that. I don't see the man in yellow even approaching Donna, just because it just would never work with Donna, I don't think. So no, I don't think Donna's the mole. I don't think she was ever the mole. But again, I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Maybe she did make a deal.
Anything could happen now, guys.
Anything's
I
possible.
mean,
After Clara,
the Clara
anything's
thing.
Yeah.
And you know what at least gives me some sort of I don't know, some sort of hope. It
Mhm.
wasn't originally in the script that Clara was a mole. And so
Yeah.
that kind of gives me hope. Why?
Yeah.
Because if the ending is not being changed, then that means the story is solid. Because the things that I have not agreed fitting into the storyline have been changes that were made to his story. His story didn't include Clara being a mole, and it probably would have been better.
Yeah.
The story didn't include Patty going full, full throttle
No.
and taking, and
What
it would
did
have been
Patty?
better. So if they're
Yeah.
letting him have the ending that he wrote originally, I'm
Mhm.
confident that it'll be good. And this is
Me
how
too.
I will know that they have repented, okay? Because I need repentance at this point for what they have done to the show.
Oof.
How will I know that they are going back to basics and it's going to be a good season 5? The first 30 seconds, I want to see Patty's face screaming and her being slaughtered. And then I'll know.
Yes.
And then you could play Que Sera Sera and I'll be like, okay, they got it. We're going back. They're like, guys, forget about Patty. Here it is. The satisfaction that you have been looking for. Patty is dead. That's how I'll
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, maybe that'll be the first 5 minutes of season 5. We'll see poor old Patty get the axe. I wouldn't mind it. I would not mind seeing it. But we also have another 400 jewels that have just been gifted. Thank you so much for the 400 jewels. Very, very much appreciate it. And we also have another 6 jewels from Guns N' Roses as well. Thank you guys. Very, very much appreciate the jewels. And I owe you guys a whoa. A whoa. Thank you. Very much appreciate the support. And everybody that has sent in jewels and super chats tonight. You guys are absolute freaking rock stars. All right, let's see. Xavier Anderson says, before Boyd got there and found the talismans, when Donna was in charge, did everyone in Colony House have to leave every night and hide in the ground because monsters could just walk in? It seems like that was the case. Yeah, at least I think that's what they were kind of trying to tell us in that episode, that during the day, they probably used all of these houses, like Colony House, the houses in the town. During the day, they were just living normally. But at night, yeah, it's not like they can all just kind of pile in Colony House and just fall asleep, because the monsters can just walk right in. They have no protection at that point. So yeah, I tend to think that that's what they were trying to convey to us in that flashback, in those scenes, that at night, doesn't matter what you do during the day, you find yourself somewhere to hide or you're going to get slaughtered. You can't just pile in Colony House. So yeah, I tend to think, it seems like they were all just hiding in different spots, and we kind of get that kind of confirmation too from Donner and some of these other characters talking about all these other hiding spots that they have to use, holes in the ground, little hidden walls inside the barn, stuff like that. So yeah, at night, even the people of Colony House, I have to imagine, probably went to ground. Otherwise, slaughterfest. Absolute slaughterfest. But yeah, I mean, yeah, and again, I do tend to agree a little bit with that. I think the Clara thing did kind of come off a little bit like fan service. I mean, again, I could be wrong. But like PM just mentioned earlier, that was not something that was originally in the script. That was something that it seemed one of the creators on From wanted to add because they liked the idea of it. So yeah, I just I don't think it was ever part of the plan for Clara to be the mole. It seems like that was very much a kind of wink and a nod to the fans because it was such a popular theory for so long. And it's not the only time From has done stuff like this. I mean, how many times have we talked about all of the kind of big fan theories that make their way into the show of From after they've been fan theories for a very, very long time? Little winks and nods that I think the writers kind of are, giving to the fandom and some of maybe their favorite theories. But yeah, I think it was a little fan servicey, just a little bit. As a viewer who was an original watcher in 2022 on Epix, hell yes, remember the Epix days? I know I'm sure a lot of you guys have been watching from the beginning as well. But yeah, man, the good old Epix days. I still say we the fans guessed the ending / plot earlier on, and they changed it. Ooh, interesting. They was getting killed about it being dream / purgatory. I mean, who knows? Who knows what's possible at this point, Xavier, right? One thing we do know, though, we have seen some pretty good evidence that they don't mind changing their story or adding stuff that they had no plan on doing in the first place, like the Clara thing. So yeah, does that mean that there could be even another layer to it where the ending itself maybe got a little bit tweaked? I mean, I feel like it's possible, but I do tend to want to believe John Griffin when he says that he has the ending, right from the very beginning. He knew exactly where the story was going to go, and the ending is kind of set in stone. I like to believe him when he says that. But you never know. Sometimes when you're writing a mystery box style of story like this, as you're going down the lines and you have to kind of connect A to B, B to C, C to D, sometimes changes just occur. That just happens every once in a while. That just about every writing process goes through things like that. Now, does that mean it's going to be as profound as changing the whole ending or just changing small details around the way, I guess is the question. But I don't know. I'd like to hope that the ending we're going to get is the ending that we were always supposed to get. But I don't know. I mean, who knows really?
I mean, I think that at this point, or at least the way that I'm looking at it, or, deciding to, I'm taking the story for what it is. Maybe we've had theories that are more complicated or, have gone into deeper layers,
Simpler is better
but
sometimes.
I'm taking the story for what it is because the creators themselves said the monsters are the parents. This is the story. They're almost like, are you not satisfied? This is a story of child sacrifice that has created a physical place that they need to get out of. Is that not enough? And now we're just trying to figure out how to save the children. That's season 5. So
Mhm.
is
Yeah,
that not compelling enough? I think the story
I
is
think
what
so.
they told us. The
Hmm.
monsters are the parents. They made a deal. They sacrificed their children. And now the goal is to save the souls of the children. And that's it.
Mhm.
There is
Yeah.
nothing else. Of course, within that story, there's the layers of manifesting physical matter, manifesting a place, getting out of the place, which is compelling enough in sci fi. The fact that you're trapped and can't get out and that physical location was manifested, that's the sci-fi part of it. That's compelling enough. That's the way that I'm deciding to look at it. it's
Yeah.
what they told us, and I'm going to believe them.
Yeah. No, at this point, my philosophy on shows has always been you have to take what the show gives you. Yeah, I mean, you can always, try to read between the lines and try and theorize from that point going forward. But at the end of the day, you have to take the data and the information that the show is giving you, and you have to kind of take it at face value, at least until it's proven otherwise. We have to kind of believe that a lot of these things that we have told are most likely the truth. Like, yes, the parents being the children being, the Unkui children being, or the monsters being the parents of the Unkui children, etc. Stuff like this. This is what the show is giving us, and that's kind of how I try to break my shows down. What is the show giving us, and then where can we theorize from there? Because when you are setting up a theory, you always want it to start, or at least the basis of the theory, you always want it to be rooted in something that is actually tangible on the show, or at least I do anyway. But then again, nothing wrong with doing some tinfoil theories every once in a while. You guys know we love diving down the tinfoil rabbit hole theory, ville every once in a while as well. But at the end of the day, like when I'm crafting like serious theories that I really think where we're going to go, yeah, you have to take what the show is giving you, the data that the show is giving you. Until that data has been proven to be false, I'm taking it at face value. But again, there's always room for interpretation, and that's what's so fun about storytelling. That's what's so fun about not only telling stories, but consuming stories as well. Everybody consumes stories in a completely different way from the person next to you. No two people are going to see the same story exactly alike in every single detail. There's always going to be deviations and variations in terms of how people see things, how people perceive things, people's interpretations of what this might mean, why that's there. And that's what's fun. That's the fun part of fandom, that everybody has all of these different ideas, all of these different perspectives. And we can get together at places like this where we can all kind of throw our ideas into the pot and hopefully collectively try to solve this thing together. And that's kind of what we do here on the channel. It's never been about, who's right, who's wrong, this or that. It's about, can we solve this thing together as a fandom? And I think we've had so many fun conversations kind of following that format here on the channel. And that is thanks to you guys in the chat for coming up with all these awesome conversation points, for showing us your point of view, your perspective, how you guys see the show, and how it is similar or different from how we see the show at times. And again, that's what makes these discussions fun. It's the differing perspectives. If we all just thought the same way, there would be no point of us hanging out here every week and talking about the show. So yeah, 100% agree with that. It's always fun. I love diving into this shit with you guys.
And
but yeah,
if the story at the center of the story, if we just take it for what it is, what they have said, I mean, I don't understand how people don't think it's compelling of a story that deals with manifestation of matter in the real world from people's mind. I mean, that is a really interesting topic.
And the psychological aspect to it too.
Yeah, even in the scientific aspect of it. We know that we don't use most of our brain. We don't use it. So we know that ever since, we started conducting experiments on humans, we have been asking ourselves, what are we capable of? What have we maybe not unlocked that we are capable of doing? So if they're talking about a storyline where children under extreme duress created something out of pure hope and manifested matter, that in itself is really interesting from
absolutely.
a science point of view, from a spiritual point of
view,
and then
from a philosophy point of view.
Exactly. Salvation, betrayal. I mean, this is deep. That in itself, that is interesting enough to me.
Me too.
That's why I think when they came out to do the Q&A, they were kind of like answering the questions, and they were saying a lot of their answers was, we already told you that the monsters are the parents. Nobody else is reincarnated, just Jade and Tabitha. Eloise is dead. They were just kind of simplifying it and saying, like, this is the story, guys. Like, why are you not liking it? Why do you want it to be something different? Even
Mm,
with the whole Eloise thing, the simple answer was the right one all along. She's dead.
mm.
They told us like a couple of times.
Yeah, I still think that might have been a bit of a change. I don't know if they were originally planning to have her dead the whole time, but I could be wrong. I could very well be wrong. But yeah, again, at the end of the day, and this is something we've always kind of, preached. From can be very complicated at times. That's 100% true. But more often than not, once we do finally get these answers, it seems like a lot of the times it does end up being kind of a little more simpler than we thought. That the simplest answer can sometimes, or more oftentimes, be the right one. And yeah, it's very easy to overthink a show like this. And again, I think, the writers asking why people are overthinking things, I think is a little strange, considering it's like, I mean, the kind of story you're writing. You are weaving a mystery box style of story. Naturally, that is going, just by its very design, it is made to make people overthink things. So I was very, I don't see, I was very surprised that the writers were surprised, I guess, about that. Because this is the story you have weaved. You have weaved a very kind of complex, but very simple story at its center. But the mystery aspects of the show are very, very prevalent, and there's not a lot of answers to them yet. So yeah, I think the show, by its very design, not just this show, but the idea of mystery box storytelling in and of itself, by its very nature, it is designed to make the audience overthink things. And and for me, that's the fun part. It's the fun part of trying to dive into and see, okay, what should we not be overthinking and what should we be paying closer attention to? And that's not always easy to see. And I think that's the fun part. It's the challenging part, just for me as an audience member. I don't always want to know exactly what's coming around the corner. I want to be surprised. I want to be challenged. I want a show that's going to make me actually really think about things every once in a while. So yeah, the fandom, us included, everybody might overthink things every once in a while, but the show is very much kind of set up to be that kind of show. But that is mystery box storytelling. There's always going to be that aspect of people are going to look for deeper meanings in every single little thing, when more often than not, there really isn't a deeper meaning in every single little thing. Sometimes what you see on the surface is just what it is. But that's what's fun about From, trying to discern the two, trying to figure out what should I be paying closer attention to and what should I maybe not pay closer attention to. That's what's fun about From for me, trying to figure out which is which.
I think it doesn't matter. To be honest with you, it doesn't matter. The fun part of the show and the community is the overthinking. This is
It's
basically
fun. It's super
us.
fun. Yeah.
It's a group of people, 158 right now, gather in a room saying, what if it's this? And what if it's
Exactly.
that? And just talking to each other and
Totally.
entertaining each other with each other's ideas of what it could be. It
Yeah.
doesn't even matter. It's not important if the show is more simple than we make it out to be,
All that matters is if we're having
because
fun watching it.
the
And
hobby of it is the conversation with each other, not even necessarily with the creator. At the end of
Mhm.
the day, the show's going to be what it's going to be. It's the discussion. We no longer have
Totally.
the times of philosophy squares where people would gather and think about the world and ask each other, what if this, what if that?
Yeah.
We no longer
Yeah.
have that. This is
Yeah.
our version of that. It's the internet
Very
gathering with
much.
people from all over the world and asking each other about life, about how we see a piece of art, because that's what, this media is, and our interpretation of it. The conversation in itself is the work and it's the payoff. It doesn't even matter if you're overthinking it. We are never going to tell you to stop overthinking anything. We are the ridiculous people that have been for 2 hours and 47 minutes
Absolutely.
talking about an episode that's 1 hour.
Yeah. And talking about maybe 10, 15 minutes out of that episode. We haven't even covered the whole thing, which
We
we
haven't
will.
even covered, and we're not even at episode 2, and it's
We're not
3
even at episode
hours
2
on
yet. Yeah.
15 minutes. Come on. Look, we are at the song. We are at the
We're at
song.
the intro. We're all the way back to the fucking intro song. That's where we are. Yeah. But no, I agree. I think, overthinking and diving into the craziness, that's part of the fun. That's part of what makes this show, this community, this fandom so intriguing and so engaging, and why so many people have flocked to it from all over the world. Because conversations like this, because of, having theory discussions and brainstorming sessions like this, it's a blast. I love doing this stuff. So yeah, there's nothing wrong with overthinking things every once in a while. Have fun with it. Dive into that rabbit hole if you want to every once in a while. But at the same time, always remember to take what the show is actually giving you at the same time. And I think finding that perfect happy medium in between those two has been so fun to try and discover. And it's been challenging. But that's what's fun about it. Overthinking, there's nothing wrong with overthinking things. This show is meant to make you overthink things. It's set up that way by design. But yeah, it is definitely made for some of the most fun and engaging and interesting discussions that we've had here on the show over the last few years since the channel, since I started the channel around 3 years ago. These are some of the most fun conversations we've had, the ones surrounding From. Yeah, all hail the overthinkers. We must stand together in these tough times. Indeed, Random Traveler, we got to stand together. Us overthinkers need to stand as one. But yeah, again, that's just some of the aspects that I really enjoy about the show, trying to dive into and figuring out which is which.
Listen, overthinking, we could be doing crack right now. Okay, we could be addicted to any other thing. We're addicted to a show and talking about it.
Whoa.
Okay. So I always measure my life whenever you feel good or bad. Always measure your life by that.
Always say that you could be a crackhead.
Ask yourself.
Okay.
I could be doing crack right now. I'm not. I'm watching a show for the 5 billionth time and talking about it for 3 hours. That's pretty good. You're doing pretty good. So listen, I'm not worried. Not worried about
in
me.
comparison to being on crack. I think talking about a show is preferable. I think we're in much better territory here. Yes, things can always get worse at the end of the day, basically. But yeah, it's just fun. It's really fun to kind of dive into all of this stuff. And as someone said in the chat, it's fun. I'm going to be mad when it's all over. Hopefully, they do a spinoff. I mean, who knows what they're going to do with From? I feel like, if a spinoff is even going to be possible or not, we won't really know until we see how this series ends. We need to see where the show is going to go, how it's going to ultimately end, and how much are they ultimately going to reveal. Are they going to leave some things a little bit ambiguous? Enough things that going back and doing some kind of spinoff to explore some of the things that maybe weren't explored in the main series is worth it. That's really the question at the end of the day. Again, we won't really know that until we see this show in its entirety. Once we see season 5 and we see how the show ends, I think that will give us a much better idea as to whether or not a spinoff is even feasible. But I hope so. I mean, again, I love this world. I love these characters. I love the whole setting. I love everything that they've crafted here. If they were to able to, recapture this magic with some kind of spinoff show, I think the majority of From fans would flock to it and love it if it was of similar quality, that is.
A spin-off, but what would it be? I only have trouble with that because I think the storyline is what we have seen. Maybe if we had I saw this in the chat, one of you guys came up with this. They said they wanted a comedy, and I'm all for it because From is pretty funny. They wanted a comedy of when Victor was a little boy and the little boy in white, those two kids hanging around From
little buddy
and
comedy.
their adventures. Yeah, like a little buddy comedy, their adventures running away from the monsters, like a growing of age sort of thing, coming of age storyline with a comedy aspect to it. I would want to see that. And that way it doesn't mess up any of the story, right? Any of the beginning or the end. But it's
Like a
just
different
about
continuity.
Victor hanging out with his buddy and doing spooky little things, like putting clothes on a teddy bear and pretending it's his mom and sister. Which somebody mentioned, by the way, Jeremy, when we were roasting Henry for being a bad dad and the provolone, they mentioned how when Victor felt alone, He's like, when I felt alone, all I wanted was my family. He
Yeah,
made
he
a
didn't
teddy
create
bear of
Henry.
his mom and his
No Henry
sister.
doll.
And he's like, listen, no fucking Henry doll. I don't need that guy. He didn't even make a teddy bear of Henry. He's like, we
Yeah.
don't need an alcoholic teddy bear attacking the family right now. Okay. He's like, no,
Henry
I don't
was
need that teddy bear.
Henry was suspiciously absent from the family portrait, wasn't he? Suspiciously absent. This is very true.
I like to think of Victor acting out scenes with the teddy bear family, like talking to each other, right?
Yeah.
He would have
Playing
Henry
hide and seek with
drunk
Eloise.
and
Yeah.
singing. Yeah,
Yeah.
drunk and singing.
Oh
And the
man.
little boy in white just being like, oh God, Victor.
Oh God, Victor, not again. And when it
All
comes
he
to
did.
spin-off shows and like prequels, that's the idea that I have seen fans talk about the most, that they wouldn't mind a Victor spin-off show, a young Victor spin-off show to really dive into the years and what really happened to Victor during that time period. That could be an interesting spin-off. Again, it would really depend on how this show ends to really see if a spin-off is going to be plausible. But depending on how much they reveal, depending on where the show ends, a Victor prequel spinoff could work depending on how they do it. And again, depending on how much this show reveals. But I don't know. I mean, again, this was a very similar kind of situation to Lost as well. When Lost was on, it was, super freaking popular, massive, massive show, huge mystery show. And when Lost ended, that was the topic on everybody's minds. Okay, we're definitely going to get a Lost spinoff. There's no way we're not going to get a Lost spinoff. This show is so popular. There's so much they can still explore about the history of this place, the origin of the island. There's a lot there. And we saw a few different Lost spinoffs try to get off the ground over the years, but nothing ever worked. Nothing ever made it to fruition. Nothing ever made it to getting ordered to full series. And again, From could very much follow that same path where once John Griffin and the creative team behind From are done with From, they might not want to do another From show. They might not want to do a spinoff set in the same world. They might have a whole new story that they want to get to, a whole new different, thing entirely. And that could be fun too. I mean, whatever they do next, I'll definitely be watching. I'll definitely be covering here on the channel regardless. But sometimes creators, after spending so much time in a specific world, sometimes they just want to do something different. So I guess it's really up to them, up to how this show ends for starters, and where the creatives want to go next. Do they want to spend another 5 years doing a show about From, or do they have other ideas that they want to explore? But that's up to John Griffin and the rest of the creative team. What do they want to do next? But whatever they do, again, if we get some kind of From spinoff, or if they just do a completely different show entirely, because I have to imagine it's going to be one or the other. MGM Plus, they have benefited so much from the TV series of From. It has brought in so many subscribers. It has really put MGM, a little bit on the map in terms of a streaming service. So I have to imagine when From is done, the head honchos over at MGM Plus, they are definitely going to want this creative team to do something else. 100%. Whether it's another From show or something different entirely, they're going to want more storytelling from this creative team. 100%.
I hope so, because I know a lot of people were saying, and I would have believed it if it had not been for the fact that the creators have been saying this for a while. I'm like, no, they've been saying this for a while. They said that episode 1 and 2 were very important and they had a lot of answers, and they've been saying this for a long time. But MGM, the social media, had been putting out little clips of From saying, hey, you need to go back and see this. Did you look at this scene closely enough? And a lot of people were saying, this is a marketing scam. You guys don't want us to cancel because you probably saw the trend that a lot of us subscribe when From is on. And
And then cancel.
as soon as the finale goes, we click cancel. cancel subscription up until the next year, right? When it starts again. So they're like, no, 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 don't cancel. You need to rewatch this thing. You didn't watch closely enough. They
Don't
probably saw
cancel. You're
that
gonna
trend.
miss out on something.
Yeah, I saw in the
man.
chat a lot of people said, "Okay, well, it's off to cancel my subscription." And that is so true. You watch the finale, you go, "Okay, that was good." And then you hit cancel subscription. And I've done it. Guilty as charged. Yes, I have. And I see in the chat you guys have too. Yeah, a lot of people do.
A
So
lot
I
of
think they're
people do
trying to
that.
keep us
Yeah.
in by saying, "Hey, you need to go back and watch Martin. You need to." It's like we've seen it. Okay, we've seen it.
We've seen it a million fucking times. No, you're 100% right. I can't count the countless comments that we've gotten just on this channel alone of people saying exactly that. You know, now that From's over, I'm canceling my MGM Plus. I'll renew it when season 5 comes back around. Yeah, a ton of fucking people do that because again, you know, a lot of people are only subscribed to MGM for From. You know, they're not watching any of the other shows that they're doing. So it makes sense. Makes sense. I get it. I canceled my subscription though, MGM, but kept it through Amazon. So yeah, some people will do that too. You know, cancel the direct MGM Plus one, but still have access to it through their Amazon account. That's possible. A lot of people probably do that. But yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see. I truly believe that whether or not a From spinoff or prequel is going to be possible is going to be based on how the show ends. What is the ending of the show going to look like? But again, whether it's a From spinoff or whether it's them doing a completely different show entirely, I will be very surprised if this creative team doesn't have another show on MGM as soon as From is done. I'll be super fucking shocked. They will. I'm almost positive they will. But yeah, man, awesome stuff. And this is why it's always fun to go back to the beginning and see what else we can see. And this is not going to be the only stream that we're going to be doing, going back to the very beginning. You know, we definitely are going to continue to dive into these first 2 episodes a little bit more on the next stream that we do as well. And we will continue to see what stuff can we pick up on from season 1. What stuff do we have new context for to see that we didn't have context for previously? So the rewatch, the going back to the beginning has only just begun. I'm going to continue to go headfirst into all of some of these earlier episodes with each and every one of you guys. And we will continue to see what other stuff that we can pick up on along the way. And yeah, Men in Yellow origin storyline. Again, I think that's another, you know, that topic, that idea for a show would very much be contingent on how much are we going to get about the Man in Yellow in this show. Are they going to completely cover the Man in Yellow's origin, like completely fully? Then if that's the case, then there might not be room to do a Man in Yellow spinoff show. But if they leave his origins a little bit ambiguous and they don't answer every little thing about him, then yeah, Wolfspear, that could be a potential spinoff idea. How the Man in Yellow became the Man in Yellow. But again, I think a lot of these ideas are contingent on how is this show going to end. But we'll see. We got 1 season left, guys. I can't believe we only have 1 season left of From. Oh my God.
I know. What am I going to do? I'm going to kill myself.
What are we going to do?
I just had an idea. I'm going to kill myself. I just had an idea though, staring at this picture here. So I generally do believe that the next season will be all about finding the lighthouse without the shortcut. I think that that's how it's going to go. Now, how are they going to find the lighthouse? They're going to need people to assist them. And while I was staring at this intro, the trees look like arrows. And then you have the crow.
Oh, yeah.
If we go with the storyline that the crows are the souls of the dead people, they would have a better view of where the lighthouse is as opposed to the humans. Maybe that crow is there with the trees to signify that they're going to have to follow the crows. They're going to see the crows overhead, and the crows will be it's going to come full circle because the crows
lead them to where they need
be
to go.
leading them where they need
Or
to
leads
go.
them to
You
the
just
Lake
have
of
to
Tears.
follow where they're flying to. Yes.
I like it.
I
I
think
like
that
it.
the crows, just like this picture, the trees are, going to be telling them, go this way, follow
Yeah.
the crows to the lighthouse.
Yeah, because even the crow is pointing upwards as well. That is a crow. That the beak is looking
Yep.
up, just like the arrows. So yeah, it's all going in the direction of up. Now I like that. I think that's a possibility where maybe the crows could lead them to the lighthouse or to some kind of vital location that they need to be at in order to perform this sacrifice, this ritual that they maybe
Yeah.
need to
They
perform.
usually get away from evil. Animals usually know when something is coming. They get away from
True.
whatever is a danger to them. So I'm thinking Sophia's in town. They're going to try to run away from there. Nothing is safe. They have to follow wherever the only animals that they have access to, which is the crows, are going. And the crows will
Mm,
lead them to the lighthouse. And that's how we
I like
will
it.
know for certain that the crows were always good. They were always good.
Mm. I like it. No, I like it. I think that's very interesting, and it would bring the crows into like the actual narrative and finally give us a definitive answer as to, okay, this is the purpose that the crows were always meant to serve right here. I like it. I think it's possible. I think it's plausible. I think it fits maybe. Because like you said, they certainly can't get to the lighthouse by going through the bottle tree anymore. That's for damn sure. They're going to have to hoof it. They're going to have to go the long way around, like Boyd and Sarah did. I like it. Awesome, awesome stuff. But there we have it, folks. 3 hours of diving into some of the most riveting From conversation that we've had in a while. This was so much fun. I had so much fun tonight. And on the next stream, I promise we will definitely dive a little bit deeper into the actual pilot and episode 2. I know we kind of went off in tangents. I know we covered a good amount of it and we found some interesting things, but we will continue to deep dive into these earlier episodes. Probably the next stream we'll do a little bit more of a wide range where we'll take a look at like the first 4 episodes, I guess, of season
Ooh.
1 and see what other stuff that we can pick up on and see where it leads us.
Yes, that's ambitious, Jeremy. But yes, we promise you guys, come back for the next From Hour a week from now, and we promise to get past the intro song. We promise
Promise.
to get past the Que Sera Sera and get into the actual episode.
Yeah, we promise. We absolutely promise. And yeah, I had so much fun tonight. Thank each and every one of you for hanging out with us on this Fromville Hour. And yes, as PM said, we will be here every single Saturday night diving into all things From. I always do From streams well into the off season, well into the hiatus. And, seeing as we're probably not going to have as long a wait in between seasons 4 and 5 as they're already well into production, we will definitely continue the From streams for as long as people want to talk From. Every Saturday, we will be right here diving into the Fromville Hour. And hopefully you guys come and join us. But yeah, there it is, folks. There it is. And I guess that will be our homework over this next week. We have 7 days to watch the first 4 episodes of season 1. I think the first 4 are very good because episode 4 in season 1 in particular is when we start getting like a really good amount of the world building and character development stuff, like getting introduced to the faraway trees and stuff like that. So if you guys have an opportunity to watch, the first 2 or the first 4 episodes between now and next week, definitely do that. See what stuff you can pick up on. If you come up with any new stuff that we haven't talked about, new stuff that we just didn't have context for, let's see what new clues we can pick up on now that season 4 is over. But again, big thank you to each and every one of you for hanging out on this fine Saturday evening. I am going on vacation tomorrow night, so I am going to try to still do our House of the Dragon pregame show and after show. It's really just a matter of what the Wi-Fi situation is going to be looking like once I get up to the hotel. But I will definitely let everybody know regardless. I'm going to, at the very least, I'll be doing the pregame show, even if I can't do the after show. At the very least, we'll do the pregame show. And of course, the watch party will still be happening in the Discord. They will still be hosting episode 6. And this is going to be the big one. The Butcher's Ball is coming. But until then, big thank you to each and every one of you. Again, huge thank you to everyone who sent in super chats and jewels tonight. You guys are absolute rock stars. Eric B. Thank you, Eric B. Thank you, Kiwi Skirt. Thank you, Justin White. Thank you, Howdy Helen. Thank you, Michelle Miller. Thank you, Sunflower. And thank you, Guns N' Roses. And thank you, Ito Will Tube. Thank you. You guys are absolutely awesome. Cannot thank you enough for all the support. And yeah, if I do not see you guys tomorrow night for the House of the Dragon, I will see you right back here next Saturday for our next iteration of the Fromville Hour, where we will continue to dive into the beginning, back to the beginning, ladies and gents. And yeah, we will see each and every one of you on the next one. Keep those tinfoil hats on, folks, and cheers.
Okay, ding dongs. If you don't subscribe to Jeremy Ice and Fire, you're gonna spend the night in the box.
Aren't Cooey